From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David SMOAK and Craig SMOAK.
Here we are, 365 Sports on this Thursday afternoon. And if you didn't think we were going to get into some legal stuff today, well, you're wrong. Lots to get to. I'm David SMOAK. Craig SMOAK on set with me as always as we co-host the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports. And we do appreciate your time, whether on YouTube or Twitter timelines. Here is how, well, first of all, this is Brendan Marcello, as the day was set for the Big 12, as they were going to have an executive meeting to discuss what's going on when it comes to the Big 12, Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, all of that. So they did have their meeting. That was from earlier with ADs and also who met earlier. We know that. Presidents and chancellors, and then there's going to be another meeting next week to try to figure out how they're going to tackle whatever they decide to do, if anything different, with Brendan Sorsby being eligible. So then here is Brett Yormark, and the statement released like in the last hour, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark and his statement, and it starts off, and we'll get to the other part and show you what he means from the first sentence. Shortly before the start of today's Big 12 Executive Board meeting, the conference received a letter from Texas Attorney General's office notifying the conference of potential legal action from Texas Tech if the conference pursues certain actions under its bylaws. We are taking time with our legal counsel to understand the concerns of the state of Texas, and we'll meet again with the full board next week. He goes on to say we move forward with our executive board today, preparation for our full board meeting on Monday. We had a good and informative discussion. Sentiment among the executive board was no different from what we heard from the ADs earlier this week. Our discussion with the full board will determine our course of action, and all options remain on the table. Now, that is also in effect what he was talking about the Attorney General's office. Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, sent a letter to the Big 12 and saying that you got to be careful what you do because we, in fact, the state might do something and fight you. Here's the part of his entire comment that sticks out from what he said. Amanda Kristovich highlighted this just a minute ago when it comes to what Ken Paxton said. Should the Big 12 seek to sanction Texas Tech for acting consistent with all the orders or with the order, Tech will pursue all legal avenues to protect its interest and those of Texas Tech student athletes. Craig, not done yet, because Craig, you can read this part, Jeffrey Kessler, who is the one that was a part of that House versus the NCAA settlement. He is also the one representing Brendan Sorsby. He just a few minutes ago sent this out to the Big 12 representing his client, the quarterback in Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah, this is quite a day. We've ran through a lot of stuff in the first 30 seconds of this show that's all happened in the last few hours. And first of all, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. What's up to chat and everybody? But yeah, here's Jeffrey Kessler following the lead of Ken Paxton, who's now involved in this, and all of the lawyers and Jeffrey Kessler basically saying, and this just coming down in the last few minutes, so I don't have a quote in front of me on what he actually said.
I got one if you want me to read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does it say about the Big 12 if it decides to lawlessly violate a court order? What message does it send to its students if its response to a lawful court order is to be contemptuous of its terms? one would expect something more honorable. That's from Jeffrey Kessler, who is a powerful attorney, House Settlement, and then, of course, representing Brendan Sorsby as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know where to begin with all of that. I mean, it's, getting very contentious, and the Big 12 going about its meetings and just getting more opinions. And I think Brett Yormark, in his statement, kind of letting you know there towards the end that the things that they heard today were consistent with what they heard from the athletic directors just a couple of days ago. That tells me that everybody in the Big 12 that already felt a certain type of way about Texas Tech appears to, across to another level of leadership, also feel the same way. We'll see next week with yet another meeting of the then presidents and chancellors of what they have to say. But so far, the ADs have been clear. The executive committees now been on the same page, and we'll see what the next round of meetings next week looks like. The Big 12 not threatening anything, just saying like we're weighing our options and letting it be known that they're open to perhaps pursuing something. But you can tell that Cody Campbell's been making phone calls today. You can tell that Texas Tech's been making some phone calls today and probably the last couple of days. I don't think that man was out there campaigning and donating and fundraising and shaking hands and kissing babies with politicians these last few years just simply to get the Save College Sports Act passed. I think that had a lot to do with it. But I also think that then blossoms into other areas of perhaps where their influence might matter. And here's a great example of that. Here comes Ken Paxton to the rescue to try to defend Texas Tech. And as he normally does, threaten you with litigation. Is it as scary as the threat seems? I don't know. That's what the Big 12's lawyers will look over, what they've probably been discussing to some degree. But yeah, in just the last few hours, we've had Brett Yormark say we had a meeting. It was consistent what was being said with what was said the other day, even though this is with a different group. We got another meeting with a different group again early next week. And in the meantime, here comes Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, who is just throwing the threats out there because that's what he does. And then here's Jeffrey Kessler, big, powerful attorney who's now won the Brendan Sorsby injunction and had nothing to do with Texas Tech, right? Nothing to do, but he's like very quickly just become Texas Tech's lawyer du jour because yesterday they were bringing him up. And then today here he is fully going on the statement. So they may not have been involved in the Brendan Sorsby case, but they definitely have the same lawyer involved together. And so, yeah, it's a lot. It leaves your head spinning when you read all of that and try to digest it. And I don't know how to unpack all of the legalese and the threats and this, that, and the other. It just takes it up another notch. And I think this all better results if I'm a Texas Tech fan who's not just like middle fingers to the sky, F the world, we're the best, and everybody's just jealous or whatever. If you're not like that kind of a sophomoric fan and you're just kind of looking at this from afar, then I think anything short of doing exactly what you did last year and then taking another step further and winning like a playoff game or two is the only thing that would warrant all of this and make it worthwhile to me versus the damage you might be doing and just the cracks in the foundation that you've now taken a sledgehammer and created with what all has happened over the last couple of days within the Big 12. Now, you can say, well, it's not our fault that Gene Taylor reacted a certain type of way, and you're absolutely right. I just mean more that this went from a league that was dealing with the Texas and Oklahoma issues, and before that, the consternation and all the angst surrounding various other programs like Nebraska and A&M and just how all that world was working. And then you get to a point where Texas and Oklahoma decide to bolt on you. And after finally surviving that, you come together. And these last couple of years, it's not kumbaya, but it's been pretty much everybody's all in this together outside of a sliver of like Utah fans on Twitter, right? And that's over. Like those days, those days are well over now at this point. There's no kumbaya. There's no everybody's on the same page. There's very clearly one school that's on its own page, and there's the other schools that don't like it. And they all have their feelings about it. I have my own thoughts about it that we can just unpack as we talk here today. But, yeah, the days of the Big 12 being on the same page, that's over now. That's done. And I just wonder what, if any, keywords, if any, lasting long-term damage Tech may be doing just with their reaction to this. And for me, We can speculate about that or wonder about it. And I proposed yesterday, I think that.
Yeah, you discussed that quite a bit.
Yeah, I just said that if your long-term goal is we're going to pour in all this money and we're going to be more ready than everybody to hit the next round of realignment. And if, in fact, this all works, we're going to win a bunch of games and we're going to be the Big 12's most valuable brand, which in part is why they are acting and feel like they can act the way they can act, is because they are winning right now. If they were like lowly Texas Tech, who was 2-10 last year, I don't think they're sticking their chest out as far. But now that
yeah, probably not, because right now they're close. Last year they made that first step, and now this year they were expecting to knock the door down.
If they were a lowly team, their words would not ring nearly as heavy as it is.
Well,
but instead, because of what they've won, even though it's just last year, really, you can say, well, we're your TV ratings grab. We are your best chance at a playoff. We are this and we are that. And I've already seen that conversation of like, well, with the Big 12, want to lose their biggest playoff threat, the one team that's actually investing at a high level that is comparable to the Oklahomas or the UTs. And so they have put themselves in that position, whereas had this been Texas Tech, like everybody knowing who Cody Campbell was, I think the conference would be like, go ahead and sue us. Like, I don't think they would encourage it, but I don't think they would be nearly as weary of doing it as they probably are right now when you think about all of the ramifications of what this could look like on the other side of litigation. So I think the Big 12 is being very careful. I do think, to finish my thought there on the conference, is that, yeah, if your long-term goal was we're going to position ourselves to where we become desirable to then make a move up, if in fact that's something that presents itself, I don't think Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti or any other athletic director or president in either of those leagues is going, oh man, let us have some of this right now. Man, bring Cody Campbell on down. We can't wait to have him get involved in our affairs. Bring Texas Tech. We can't wait to have this problem on our hands. So maybe that doesn't matter in the long run. I'm talking out loud here.
Yeah,
but I do think that there is also a chance that it does matter in the long run, and they are doing some irreversible damage.
No, they probably are, but I also think and it's fair to look down the road. We did that quite a bit yesterday, and we'll probably be doing that until we figure out where we are in early September with whether Sorsby plays or not. He has not yet played. He is expected to play. He will probably play, but he has not yet played. That is also part of the story, because we don't know what can happen between now and then. We don't know if, in fact, the ruling can be appealed by the NCAA in time to affect what happens in September. There's so many moving parts, but right now, this is as contentious as I can ever remember any kind of a single program like lighting up the fire within the country of college football fans. Michigan might have been, without question, that just a few years ago. But this right here, everybody, it's almost to the point where, good God, what else can we say? And then we have all the legal letters and all of that comes down today.
Yeah, I mean, I think Texas Tech is still in a position where they feel like they've done nothing wrong. And I will continue to say, like, if you're the Big 12, what exactly are you going to punish them for? I've been saying that the last couple of days. I don't know that they have any ground to punish them. I do think that that's what they're exploring right now. And I know there is that bylaw, and people have pointed it out over the last 24, 48 hours that could possibly come into play. There's the whole damaging the brand, which I don't know how you could prove that, because, again, I'll go back to saying nobody's sitting there going, I can't believe, I mean, outside of like Twitter Joe, who's like, Brett Yormark needs to do something. And it's also like the person that if you do something, it's still not good enough. Kind of like, so you're not bowing to that person. But I do think that, yeah, it's just been wild to kind of see how this has erupted and gone from, hey, we made a decision and we're standing by it, and we know you guys don't like it, but we are going to do what we feel is best for this young man and for our program and for our university, and this is how we help people, and this is the Texas Tech way, and this is what we do. And everybody else has been fair to say, we don't know if you'd be doing that if this was just some regular science class student or not a star quarterback, but everybody can have their opinion on the motivation here, even though given the person at the center of this, like, the motivation's pretty clear. They're in the kid-saving business, but they also want to win football games. Okay, we can all acknowledge that's pretty clear. But now what this has turned into where it's become this infight within the league, and now you have Texas Tech in just like the span of 2 hours bringing Ken Paxton into this, threatening everybody. You bring Jeffrey Kessler into this, threatening everybody. And who's to say they were going to pursue litigation anyways? But now you're basically daring them to do it and threatening them so that maybe they back down or maybe they think twice. I've never been sold that the Big 12 is actually going to take any action. I don't know that this changes anything that they were possibly going to do, but it definitely does make you take your time to make sure you're making the right decision and you don't get involved in some messy kind of legal case. But yeah, to now have all these new parties involved, it's just taking it to a different level than your typical sort of infighting, because now we've got state government and just a lot of big, powerful legal people in this case.
Here is where you put the statement back up, Rez, from Brett Yormark again. Well, I'm going to read just a little bit of it. He released that just recently, like in the last hour, to just summarize today that they had the executive committee meeting. There's going to be another meeting with everybody pretty much involved on Monday. Shortly before the start of the meeting, he mentions that they received the letter from Ken Paxton. We are taking time with our legal counsel to understand the concerns of the state. That would be Attorney General Ken Paxton. Meet again with the full board next week. We move forward with our executive board today, and at the end, he said, nice discussion. Sentiment among the executive board was no different from what we heard from the ADs earlier this week. Our discussion with the full board next week will determine our course of action. Course of action could be legal, could be whatever, but it would be some sort of a reprimand, some punitive damages, some penalties, some withholding of revenue, whatever it is. All of our options remain on the table. So Yormark, very generic, vanilla, but mentioning that they did get the letter from Ken Paxton. And that's before he released that, before Jeffrey Kessler. Craig walked in a few minutes ago and goes, hey, Jeffrey Kessler now has sent a letter to the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just kind of happened here in the last few hours. So I think Brett Yormark is doing the right thing. He's not listening to the torch and pitchfork crowd who are demanding action immediately. That would be short-sighted. It would be too emotional to make a just decision to appease a crowd that's not going to be appeased by whatever you do anyways, and then potentially get yourself into further legal trouble by just making a decision to appease a bunch of people that aren't going to be appeased. So yeah, social media, not the great North Star of how this should be handled. I think Yormark's actually handled this pretty well, kept things close to the vest, gone about their business, had their meetings, kept whatever has been said behind closed doors, best we can tell. Nothing super interesting has leaked out from any of that other than what he's publicly said, which is that of the two groups they've now met with, the ADs and this executive board or whatever, they're all on the same page that, yeah, they're not happy with Texas Tech. They would like something to be done, but what can be done? That's the big question. And certainly you don't want to do something that damages you even further, like litigation that potentially you lose. And I don't know if it was in the Kessler statement that was the threat of, if you do anything, we'll crush you guys, or if it was the Ken Paxton statement that was threatening that if you guys do anything, we'll come after you guys. But I thought I saw the figure like 200 million or something thrown out there, and maybe I just saw that in passing of potential damages or something along those lines. I normally don't just throw in things I see if I'm not sure of what I saw, but I swear I saw that, and maybe it's just a mixture of some other things. But yeah, you could potentially be on the leash for a lot of money when money's at a premium for everybody right now. Maybe you would win out, but the damage done between Texas Tech and the Big 12, right now, it's hard to tell what exactly that is and how long-lasting that is, but there has been some damage done, I think, to their brand and kind of just the perception of them. I know a good portion of their fan base won't care, and they're going to do what they do, and maybe they're waving the Big 12 flag at the end of the year in the college football playoff and all that. Maybe they're not. I go back to just in general, because normally we talk college football. Anything short of a playoff win or two is just, in my mind, not worth all of this, all of the fracturing of your league mates and of your perception nationally. Now, again, you probably don't care. It's West Texas versus the world, right? It's it's them versus everybody anyway, so who needs friends or whatever. But the Big 12 harmony was nice while it lasted there for about a year and a half. But we're back to more of the older days where there is problems within the league.
Mark Schipper is going to join us in about an hour, and he put this down. This is a note that he put out last night, and I saved this one. For all of you kids who missed the glory days of the old Southwest Conference, I missed the biggest scandals, but I was around enough when the league dissolved into the Big 12 in 95. This was what it was like. A program would get caught red-handed or be in a controversy. The governor, the university presidents, the regents, running the slush fund and all. So he was just talking about this kind of reminds him of the old days of the Southwest Conference when they had a lot of infighting, and they had recruiting scandals and they had other scandals, but I thought that was an interesting take with what Mark said last night.
Well, what's very clear is that, and I said yesterday, I didn't anticipate at this point that Tech would back down and suddenly have a change of heart and go, you know what, we're going to cave to the national pressure. I think that would be stupid on their part to do, and just would feed a beast that's never satisfied. So no, I didn't think once Tech crossed a certain line that there was any turning back. And now if you thought that there was, it's very clear there's no turning back and that they have no thoughts of turning back. And Brendan Sorsby's not going to suddenly go, you know what, I've caused a lot of issues. He's not going to suddenly be unselfish and say, maybe I should walk away. That's not going to happen. It can't for his mental health, right? He's got to play football to be okay. So, yeah, like they're dug in. It felt that way yesterday, but today, when you see Kessler and Paxton's involvement, it's very clear that they've dug their trench. They're ready to fight. They're almost begging for a fight. It might be one of those things where the bark is worse than the bite, and it's like you're barking because you want to just prevent them from trying to bite back. But either way, they are going on the offensive. And I think that's what's kind of come across as so tasteless to some people in the reaction by Tech that's made it go from, okay, like we can at least see where y'all are coming from, to where it's like y'all are the ones that made the controversial decision and now y'all are being the aggressors. And it's like, it's just kind of a weird response to the backlash of like, not just going like, we understand, like not that you have to be like soft about it, but instead of just being like, hey, we agree to disagree. We know what y'all are saying, but we're supporting Brendan Sorsby. Well, we're going to do whatever we're going to do.
I get that. But right now they have arrows, bullets, everything all fire in the direction. You could say, well, that's their fault. It's also the fault of the judge and the ruling he made that kind of just took this into overdrive. But, yeah, they're not backing down now.
No, what I was trying to say is that so you had the response of where you've just like decided we're going to go on the attack, and that's how you're going to just deal with it. And so they've been very out there and blustery with Cody Campbell's appearance and now the Paxton statement and the Kessler statement and all of that. So they've been very aggressive in their response. I think that's probably made people take a bit of a step back and been like, what the hell? But if that's how they feel they need to handle this, then that's their prerogative, and we'll see how well it works out for them. But I do think that's what's been kind of notable is instead of just saying like, hey, y'all don't like it, that's too bad, but we're going to move on in our own direction. It's been, we're throwing rocks back at you, and we've got bigger rocks we're ready to throw if you want to keep throwing rocks at us. And so whether you think that's right or not, I'm not commenting on it. I'm just saying it's been interesting to see how aggressive Tech has gotten in there. And when I say Tech, I mean Cody Campbell or whoever is involved
Kirby
here.
Hocutt released a statement.
Yeah.
He should have. You can agree or not with what he said. Cody Campbell's been very vocal, and I thought that best thing he could do is kind of just get in the shadows for a little bit. But that's not his style. And then, Joey yesterday in Houston and much more. And now Brendan Sorsby's attorney, and then Attorney General Ken Paxton. So this is from all directions. This is from Tom Mars on what the Big 12 and the directors have in front of them. This is part of what they can do. For example, a supermajority of Big 12 directors, that's the 16 schools, including Tech, have almost unlimited discretion to sanction Texas Tech. What's more, they also have the authority to amend the Big 12 bylaws at any time to specifically require the immediate suspension or dismissal of any school which knowingly plays an athlete who has admitted to placing bets on his own team. So that's from Tom Mars. That's a clarification. That doesn't mean that's what they're discussing. That doesn't mean that they'll do. But there's also just a little bit more. I got to tell you, I want to use a word. I won't use it because it'd be very unprofessional. This is exhausting. So imagine if you're in the middle of it. Our job is just to cover it. I received an email earlier today about how we have tried to at least give you as many angles of this story as we can, but I was like, okay, this is the day. And then, of course, all the letters and some more of the threats or whatever else come down today. Are you not exhausted from it?
No, I think it's really interesting. I think it's way better to talk about than some like too deep of an offensive line in the middle of June. So I can imagine if a Texas Tech fan is involved that they're exhausted by it, but I'm not exhausted by it at all. I think it's a fascinating story. I think there's way more interesting things going on in this story than there is in all the stuff we're going to talk about in August and late July and media days and everything anyways. If you're a Tech fan, yeah, I'm sure you're tired of the story. If you're Brennan Sorsby fan, you're probably really tired of the story. And if you're somebody that just wants to talk X's and O's and ball, then I'm sure that you're probably tired of the story, but I'm not encouraging you to go anywhere. But there's plenty of other places where you can see that. So, no, I'm not exhausted by the story. I thought today would be a bit of a slower day, and then all of a sudden you had these statements coming out. So, yeah, keep it coming. I find it fascinating. So I guess we disagree there because – yeah, I'm not burnt out on it at all.
Okay, I'm glad you do disagree. I'm just telling you, it's just from day to day. Saying I want to talk about Villanova's too deep, though. I don't think we're going to jump into that by any means at all. One of the schools, of course, involved, and I just got a note, and it's the second time that we're supposed to have G.J. Kinney, Texas State football coach, on the show, and he's backed out. This is the second time in a couple of weeks, so that's disappointing because he, remember, was a part, or was he, Texas State and ACU, Abilene Christian, about when there was firing back and forth. Man, it was just innocent stuff when it was Tech and UT and Sarkisian and Joey McGuire and all of that. So he's not coming on the show today from what I've just been told. But Sam Houston State is on the Texas Tech schedule, and they are not going to back out of anything that they have with a scheduled game this year against Sam Houston State. Abilene Christian is going to get $375,000. Sam Houston State's going to get, I think it was close to $1 million to be playing Texas Tech. Those games, of course, are critical for schools of that size to get paid. And so that was a no. People are like, what about Sam Houston State? They're not backing out of the game with Texas Tech. At least that was from Front Office Sports and David Rumsey.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't expect Sam Houston to back out of that game. That's a shame about GJ, but oh well, we'll move on and can talk more about other things. But, yeah, I don't anticipate Sam Houston's going to take some type of stand and say we're not going to play Texas Tech. We're going to cost ourselves this money that we definitely want and need, and this opportunity that we have to play one of the nation's best teams at their place and have that experience and have that opportunity. I think that's one of the least surprising headlines that's come out of this whole situation is that Sam Houston's going to play the game they were scheduled to play. But I guess they needed to go on the record given all of the public outcry and the discussions about that Texas game potentially, even though that was never realistic because Texas is just not going to entertain that for whatever reason you want to apply. They're scared or they're this or they're that. They're not going to do it because at this point, Texas is never going to schedule Texas Tech again. Not after the last 2 weeks. If there was ever a chance of it, it's like at zero now because I think they will take this moral high ground of what's happened now with this Sorsby situation. I think they'll also take the back and forth, the quotes from McGuire and Cody Campbell about they're scared and this, that, and the other. And I think Texas will just say, we're just not even going to go down this road. We're not even going to give you guys air to live off this. And I think A&M would probably be the same way and follow suit, which is unfortunate because, again, I think we're going to go like a couple decades and we're going to see so few inter-Texas matchups outside of the Big 12 schools and outside of just like A&M and Texas. So I guess we'll at least get Sam Houston randomly playing Texas Tech as some other inter-conference Texas matchups. But, I never would expect them to not take the paycheck. And all of this has nothing to do with them. So if anybody wants to take a stand, let it be the Big 12, and then they can go fall on their sword, or they can go get sued to oblivion or whatever. But Sam Houston just needs to collect a check and advance and move on and survive as a program. So, not surprised there in the slightest.
So there we are with that. Sam Houston State saying that they're going to continue, and I think as they should, the scheduled game against Tech. Who knows where it will be by the time that game is played. The first one in late August with almost everybody, and then, of course, the first weekend in September, too. All right, now, this is here are statements from UCF AD Terry Mohajir, and then a clip from TCU's AD Mike Buddy from the Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, and Big 12 discussion and the ruling. This is from Terry Mohajir. The integrity of competition must remain non-negotiable. Gambling on sports, particularly those in which a student athlete participates, strikes at the heart of what makes college athletics credible. Institutions cannot control court things or rulings, legal strategies, or judicial outcomes. What we can control is playing time and the standards we set for participation in our programs. Now, this is his next statement. At UCF, if a student athlete were found to have engaged in sports gambling that violated NCAA rules, that individual would be deemed ineligible for competition by us or UCF. We would still continue to support the student athlete's mental health and academic pursuits, but participation on the field would be out of the question, and I would make a strong recommendation to our president with that action. Rules only have value when they are enforced consistently and carry meaningful consequences. Our student athletes, coaches, fans, and institutions deserve a system that protects the integrity of the game. Here is TCU AD Mike Buddy in his thoughts. This is a video clip with a site that covers TCU.
History has taught me, Jay, that for about 72 hours after crazy things happen, you probably just need to take a deep breath and think on things, not respond emotionally. But I certainly understand why people would say we're not going to compete against Texas Tech and the way the current form of competition is. I'm not going down that road. I mean, I think competition is really good. And to be honest with you, Texas Tech has been really good for the Big 12. They've had some great teams. We just have to get back to kind of some semblance of community.
So Mike Buddy's saying that, you can understand if people want to look at this in a way that they do, but he says, hey, the Texas Tech's also been really good for this conference. And so that's from the TCU AD, and we appreciate the note. By the way, Rob Marshall's the one that had the note from Terry Mohajir, the UCF AD. Now, how about some football?
Well, let me comment on these first. I think what else are you going to say if you're Terry Mohajir and your Mike Buddy? I mean, Terry Mohajir, I think, can say in this situation of, this is what we would do. And okay, if that situation ever presents itself where your starting quarterback does something similar to your offensive lineman or whatever, then we'll know what UCF will do. And really what he laid out is what Texas Tech probably should have done from the very beginning, and it would have saved all of this. It would have been just a simple way of acknowledging the person, Brendan Sorsby, taking care of him, putting all your facilities and methods of help and rehabilitation and guidance and whatever. You could have wrapped your arms around him still with all of those mechanisms, and you could have helped treat the person and moved on, and he could have gone and gotten his degree from Tech or whatever and still done all of that. He didn't have to play football. And that's the part where I think Texas Tech in their messaging, it just kind of rings hollow for people, is you guys keep saying all of these things, and then you keep saying you're saying some outlandish things in some cases, like, well, it's not murder. And it's like literally what Joey McGuire said. It's like, it's not murder. And people are like, what the hell, guys? Like, it's just like some of the, like, just stop talking. But I understand that you're at a function, you had to talk and whatever, but I think the more talking that's been done, the more people are just like, y'all could have avoided all of this. You could have done all these things to help him. He didn't have to still play quarterback for you, though. Like, that's the line that y'all decided that you wanted to to not draw in the sand, though, and that's the one you're defending to the death now. And okay, understandable. Some doctor somewhere feels that he's got to still play football at Texas Tech and in college, not in the NFL like he could have, not gone to the supplemental draft or whatever. He's got to do it this way for you guys, or else everything in his whole life will fall apart. I mean, I think that kind of falls empty for a lot of people. But to Terry Mohajir's point, like, yeah, they could have kept him around. They could have given him all of the methods of getting help that he needed and just not played him and said, look, Brendan, this is consequences of your actions. We love you, man. We're here to support you. Hell, we'll even still pay you some, if not all, of your NIL deal, just because this is a unique and messy situation. But we just can't have you on principle out there on the field. Now, at the same time, is Texas Tech absolutely right in saying that they don't think everybody else in America would do this same thing that they're demanding of Texas Tech? Yeah, they're absolutely right. And I do think when Cody Campbell was on the Dan Dockich's podcast or whatever yesterday, he brought up LSU. And I'm not saying there's like a direct comparison here, but I do think when LSU, for example, does some stuff that crosses a line or gets in trouble or whatever, we almost go, that's LSU, man. They're just so crazy. Like those, like, don't we though? We're like, oh, LSU, like, oh, there they go. They're breaking the rules again. Like, oh, LSU, that's crazy. SEC, man, that's, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And there is like this backlash from that part of the country that I do think Texas Tech is right to go like, wait a second, like y'all are acting like we're the only ones that have ever done anything. Now, I understand that specifically people are focused on the gambling part of this. So, you know, I think Terry Mohajir's got a valid point. I think he just made UCF stance clear. And if it wasn't clear, then if this happens, that's what they will do. I think TCU said a very non-controversial thing there, Mike Buddy, that just leaves the doors open to whatever interpretation, but none of it's all that negative. But yeah, there's just so much to digest from all the opinions, all of the reactions, and just this big mess of a story that we've been covering now for the last couple of days. And it's fascinating. Yeah, I'm not tired of it. I think it's interesting. The more quotes we get, the more people kind of position themselves, the more people that now get involved. I don't necessarily love having Ken Paxton involved in this. It makes it feel really icky, honestly, because now we're getting into a place where this is moving into like government, and maybe that was to be expected with a big decision like this. But yeah, there's been some valid points on Texas Tech's side, is what I'm saying. I don't think that every point they've made has been a great one. I think sometimes they just need to like get the mic, like Joey, don't say that. But I do think they have made some valid points in how they've been treated and how others probably would do the same thing. But I also think there's others on the other side that have very valid points about how damaging this could be. I
also think you can't just sit there and take a beating, because but there are times when you need to know when you should say something. I would rather. I just don't think you should just take a beating, especially if you have something to say that you think needs to be said. That's up to you, your school, your institution, your athletic department, program, whatever else. So at least they're not just quivering in the corner and going, oh, my God, they're going to beat us up. By the way, Casey, in the chat room, when did they write this statement? Did that exist prior to Monday? When you're referring, I think, to Terry Mohajir or Mike Buddy at TCU, we would not have run anything that they said prior unless there was somebody that was like backtracking on what they said. They all said that following the ruling with the judge and Brendan Sorsby on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you're a very aggressive person. I think Cody Campbell is as well, where even if you did get the advice that the best thing to do would be to just not say anything, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd come like throwing and firing bullets and slinging arrows. Even if that wasn't
I think I've been through enough at times that I've learned not to jump if I don't need to jump. But I am more like confrontational. Yes.
Right. And I think what I said earlier is that it's been interesting, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but it's been interesting to see how confrontational Texas Tech has decided to be over this in defense of themselves. So maybe that works out in their favor by being ultra aggressive and ultra confrontational and going and getting Ken Paxton and Jeffrey Kessler, who was just representing Brendan Sorsby. Now he's apparently representing you, just like that, to go and get them involved and go on the offensive with these statements of, if y'all do anything, we're going to do this. That's the tactic they've chosen. We'll see how that works out for them. Others would maybe just kind of sit back and let this cool out. And you know what? It actually felt like that was what was going to happen today. it felt like today, after everybody said their piece yesterday, it was just going to be a day where, hey, your mark says what came out of the meeting and we go from there. It's not all that different from what had already been said of they're having conversations. There's more meetings that are already scheduled. And then once they get through all those, they'll have, something on the other side of that. And was just going to be what it was until here comes Ken Paxton. Here comes Jeffrey Kessler. Here comes Tech's response to it all. So that just threw more chum in the water for the entire conversation. And we'll see. Time will tell on whether that was the best tactic. I do think, though, it's one thing to be aggressive on the lawsuit part of this or threatening legal action or whatever. What I'm speaking to about just kind of like also knowing when to not say anything is kind of like Joey McGuire and trying to make these comparisons that I don't think go over all that well necessarily because it's not apples to apples. And I'm not focusing on him specifically, but I think even if you watch Cody Campbell on Dockage, there's a couple times where he said things and Dockage is like, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like a little bit of a stretch. So it's just been crazy to watch this all unfold.
Here are some comments from our viewership. We appreciate it again for those of you who watch us whenever you do. You can be co-villains at the same time. Somebody had brought up now that Utah is no longer the biggest villain in the Big 12. Bracket Cat, not if the entire Big 12 turns on you and ends up kicking you out in the long term. They're not going to be kicked out of the conference. And Bracket Cat, I always appreciate your comments. That's not going to happen. You're not. Well, think about some of the worst scandals in college athletics. And did anybody, there were threats, but I don't know if anybody, maybe there's an example that was ever kicked out of a conference. This is from Rich. Impressed by what Texas Tech's doing, but again, they're not taking Utah's place as the villain. That's a separate one. From Darius, I think in the long term, damage is overrated. We weren't joining the SEC or the Big Ten as it was. We were just positioning ourselves to dominate the Big 12, and that will still happen.
Yeah, I think that's a valid comment. And I was speaking in talking about that more to a portion of the audience that does think that is a possibility. And I know because I've talked to them about it. And you see some of the realignment speculation. I myself have never been the opinion that Texas Tech was getting a Big Ten invite. I think that they have this air about them where as much as they would probably
the Big Ten has the air about them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they would love some Texas representation, but I don't think that Texas Tech would be the route that they would take. I think they'd rather like exhaust every effort to get like A&M and to see like what that looked like and then maybe pivot and not going to go down the road of speculation there. But I think they'd be more apt to take like TCU before they would take Texas Tech. And I know that sounds crazy because of the size, but like
I don't know about the private school.
The private school probably not. Christian school, that might not work.
Well,
you're right.
TCU doesn't want to be called a Christian school.
Well, they backed away from it basically. Yeah. So I mean, they're a private school, but they're not really as religious as like Baylor, for example, or BYU. Certainly not to the level of those two schools. But so yeah, I never thought that. And I've never been of the opinion that the SEC was going to take them because I never for 1 second, no matter how big, bad, rich, and powerful Texas Tech gets in the next few years, I've never once thought that Texas or Texas A&M would allow that at all. And you could say, well, Texas A&M didn't want Texas in the conference. Well, I think that's a little bit of a different thing. I think it's one thing when it's A&M saying we don't want the biggest brand in college sports to come join this union of ours and add to this huge, massive pie we already have versus having the two biggest brands and saying, do we want a third slice of the state of Texas that no, you really don't need it. So I don't think that and plus that's
not even really in the discussion.
No, but you would never platform Texas Tech that way. You would never allow them to be on your level. So that's not realistic either to your point, but I'm just saying for those who were hoping that all this would move them in that direction. If there was a chance of that, I think those chances went from whatever percentage you think they were to like down here and almost zero, because I don't see a world where Greg Sankey especially already didn't seem to be a Cody Campbell fan. Clearly Georgia's AD is not a Cody Campbell fan. I think with the Big Ten, I mean, nobody's noses are in the air higher than them. Even when they have stuff in their own house, it's in their house. So it's okay. That's more or less what I'm getting at.
All right. Man, this is something else. When I said, by the way, and I want to clarify that it's exhausting, for me, because I'm not a very smart guy when it comes to legal matters. That's why we've had legal experts, including even yesterday's show, because as soon as I think, okay, this might like slow it down a little bit, no, it never seems to. From Darius again, this is a super chat, in fact. I believe long-term damage is overstated. Tech was never joining the SEC or Big 12, or Big 10. Big 12 members don't have real leverage. Big 10 isn't blackballing anybody's schedule.
Yeah, Darius.
It's kind of a little bit of what he said earlier, but this time in a super chat form.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They were never going to the SEC or Big 10. So I think I just explained that and saying that's more or less the message that I'm saying for anybody who thinks that's a possibility, because there is a segment. It may not seem like a big segment, but I've seen it enough to know there is a portion of people that think that. And so if you thought that's possible, yeah, I think we're all in agreement that that's not. But Big 12 members don't have real leverage. Like, I would agree with that. I don't think they do. I think they would cut off their nose to spite their face. And I don't think that the conference necessarily sinks if Texas Tech's not involved. But I do think that the money would go down. The TV deal money would go down. Now, let's not act like Texas Tech is Texas in negotiations, or they're Michigan or Ohio State. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like, let's just be realistic and grown-ups about this. So it's not like pulling that pin alone just unravels everything, but it would be a significant chunk and a significant blow to what you're offering as a TV package. It's just not the equivalent of like Ohio State leaving or something, but it is a big, popular, and right now very successful brand with a lot of money in its backing, that if you pull that out of the equation of 16, that 15, yeah, it doesn't look as appealing, and you're not going to get as much money as you were going to get with Texas Tech and with what they might look like in a couple years while you're negotiating this deal. So I do think from that standpoint, Tech does have more of the leverage as far as their importance versus any idea that the league could just move on without them. But I don't think the question's about them kicking them out anyways. It's not about, they're not trying to kick them out.
This is about allowing a player who everybody feels should, I say everybody, the majority, if not a lot, feels should not play. But he hasn't played. He hasn't played yet. What everyone's looking at is the possibility of keeping him out of a championship game. Am I making sense there?
I'm just writing something down.
The championship game, or is there a way they can still work on Sorsby and his eligibility? I think that's what else they do, reprimand, fines, withholding money. That could all hurt a little bit, but that's the bottom line.
Yeah, Rez, can you put that back up, please? I was going to finish that last point. But yeah, and I know they didn't say specifically that they were kicking them out, but I just mean as far as like the leverage is that Tech is a part of the equation and they matter. And so you can't take them out and feel like you're going to somehow be better on the other side of that. And so, yeah, I think Tech does have the leverage, and there's not much you can really do about it, as we've discussed the last couple of days. That's why they're having these meetings, and they're not rushing to make a decision, because they're, I think, exhausting every little word and every letter of every statement and everything in the bylaws to make sure that when they do make a decision, they are making the absolute positive, best, and most logical decision. So yeah, I don't think the Big 12 has a lot of leverage here. And the Big 10 on the blackballing schedule.
I got an update on that.
Okay, go ahead then.
Ralph Rousseau and Scott Dockerman. The Big 10 is not expected to implement a mandate that would prohibit schools from scheduling. Texas Tech. Nebraska has put out a memo to their coaches in the athletic department. Two people involved in the discussions told The Athletic on Thursday they were scheduled to meet with Commissioner Tony Petitti today. Some in the conference wanted to consider a league-wide ban. However, that appears that's not going to happen.
I just think it's smart to not move forward in that way, because if there is any way to claim collusion or something along those lines, yeah, you want to avoid that and not get yourself involved in this mess if you're the Big 10. And they don't need to do it together. They can just do it individually and accomplish the same goal. And you can't say, well, Minnesota must schedule us. They don't have to. They just don't need to sit there and go get in a room with all the other schools and say, all right, we're all agreeing to this together, right? Right. All right, great. No, just on your own individual basis, say, we have no interest in playing them because we just don't want to. We'd rather play this. And you can't get sued for that. can't be forced to schedule Texas Tech. So yeah, avoid any collusion charge or whatever might come with that, and just on your own independently say we're not scheduling them, just like Georgia and Nebraska did. It doesn't need to be a league-wide thing, because yeah, that could open you up to some potential legal action. So yeah, I mean, all this is very valid. And look, long-term damage isn't necessarily just realignment related. I think long-term damage, it might be overstated. And I've said on a few occasions now that, like, you know, we'll see in the long run. We're spitballing here, but I do think that if you were kind of on the fence about Tech and their place in college athletics, that you probably now decided to sit on one side or the other. And I know that won't matter to the fans who already feel the way that they feel. I'm just saying, I do think there is some perception damage that's been done for the Texas Tech brand. Is it enough to matter? Is it enough that they even feel it? Maybe not, probably not. So who cares? But I'm just saying that I think some has been done just by the way this has all gone, and just some of the responses and reactions to kind of how they've handled this whole thing. So does it hurt? Probably not. Maybe not. Could it, though? Potentially. I mean, every day brings something new at this story, so let's see where it goes. And thanks, Darius, for the super chat.
Appreciate that, and appreciate the various direct messages I got from earlier today. We will have Max Olson at 4. We will have Mark Schipper at 4:30. We'll have a lot of other time. In fact, we still have some more time even here. Here, let's read some more stuff in the chat room. This is an arrogant comment, but that's fine. You have a right to it. John RF, the Big 12 is barely relevant. Well, they haven't been irrelevant this week. They are not irrelevant. They're not maybe the high and mighty, the Big Ten and the SEC, and the SEC and the Big Ten will also tell you that, as will a lot of their fans. It's not like they're irrelevant, but they're not on the same level, revenue, viewership, whatever. They're not. But irrelevant is kind of a little bit of a flippant remark, but that's okay. You be you.
Is that the whole comment?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, Sure. Thanks for bringing that to the table. And I mean, in your opinion, that's the case. That's totally fine, dude. But yeah, I don't really have anything to say about that.
Let's see here. Really, in fact, somebody else responded to him. Our main focus with this conference needs to be unity. That's not the case right now. It's not like 8 against 8. It's not like there's an east, west, north, south, whatever. Right now, at least based on public and quotes and whatever else, it's not unity. Hopefully the Big 12 can get past this. And every conference has had their dramatic times, and most of the time they do. But this one's going to leave a scar for just quite some time.
Well, I mean, that circles back to my pondering the question of, like, what kind of long-term damage this caused. And I know people have now been quick to say, well, realignment-wise, it has no effect. And we've talked through that and kind of where I was coming from with that statement. We'll see, though. I mean, I definitely think that if the possibilities were there for them to get in, those possibilities, if you thought that they were 0, then it's not changed. If you thought they were 10%, they're like 4 now, in my opinion. But that's not exclusive to realignment. It's also just, what's the long-term damage done to the conference fabric based off this story? Because it was one way about a week ago, and now it's already changed, and it's not for the better. Now you've got lawsuits being threatened, state attorney generals getting involved. Attorney General, we know Cody Campbell and all his political influence that he's been garnering for examples just like this. This is where some of that comes in handy, is having these people at his disposal to come in and take his side and threaten legal action if you try to harm Texas Tech. But that's also long-term lasting damage. And I do think perception people probably don't care as much about of what fans of other fan bases think. But that there's a lot of things that encompass long-term damage. And I think the one that's very clear right now is perception-wise, all right, whatever. Georgia fan doesn't like us. Georgia fan didn't like us to begin with. Person in chat thinks it's irrelevant. It doesn't, like, their opinion doesn't matter or change anything. So that's not affect anything. The realignment, like, you don't think that's realistic anyway. So who cares about that? But the inner workings of the Big 12, that's very real. That's very real, and very right now that's happening. And you just wonder what that looks like as we move forward, and if there's fractures that are created that create further problems down the line. If it's a league where infighting becomes even more so than it's ever been since Texas and Oklahoma were involved, like, what kind of mudslinging gets put into play? That's also potential long-term damage that could be done. But again, we will see how the days and weeks go by and how all this continues to get handled.
Joey, and then we break and come back with Max. The Big Ten won't impose anything. They have bigger fish to fry with their silo breakaway and 10 conference games looming.
Well, that's the thing is, like, when they started talking about having this meeting, and we asked Sam Ehrlich yesterday about, like, is there anything valid to collusion if Texas Tech wanted to claim collusion if the Big Ten decided they weren't going to play anybody, and he had his answer if you want to go check that out. But I think if you're the Big Ten, like, why put it on a record and just everybody have a silent agreement of, we don't have to tell everybody everything, but we all, like, you get what I'm saying from across, you get, okay, yeah, cool, we're on the same page. It doesn't need to be officially communicated and voted on and agreed on so that you set yourself up for litigation. You all just have a silent understanding of, like, yeah, we're not effing with Texas Tech, and we're not going to schedule their teams unless we're forced to play them, and there's no legal ramifications from that. So I think that's the smart move on the Big Ten's part. And if there are some schools in that league that decide they still want to play Texas Tech, then good on them. I don't think there should be, like, this outright banishment, and they should be treated like this pariah, as though some would like to see them treated. So, yeah, if Wisconsin wants to play them, then go play them, Wisconsin. Go right ahead. But I do think there will be some programs that use this as a reason to do what they were probably going to already do anyways. So let's see how many Big Ten teams get on that schedule. And if we look back in about 10 years and they haven't played a single one, then we'll go, damn, the Big Ten did kind of agree to not schedule Texas Tech, didn't they? But, yeah, I think they were setting themselves up for a Ken Paxton statement if they tried to go on the record with all of that.
There's a lot to sometimes when you get into these discussions and these stories seem like they go warp speed. Like it's a blur. So much that hasn't even happened yet, including the fact that Brendan Sorsby has not played, but we're a long way from that because right now, from what we can tell, he will, and he's allowed to, based on how we started this week with the judge's ruling on Brendan Sorsby. Yeah,
I mean, Kocut, McGuire, I mean, they very intentionally said, well, he's not cleared yet. He's not cleared yet. Will Hammond, he's going to be back by like week 2.
Do you think that they left the door open?
I think that they have left the door open because I do think, one, there's always the chance that he could slip, and there's no coming back from a slip. Like, you send one bet on Indian cricket through a burner account again, Brendan, then, yeah, that's it. That's over if they can track it in time. But I think they left the door open to just not be 100% dug in. So if something were to come out or he were to slip up, then they can pivot from it and not be like dug in and having to defend him through anything and everything at that point. And I do think they also kind of leave that open to just see kind of what the next few days look like. But now, based on what we've seen, there is like the only thing that would cause him to not play would be for him to slip up at this point. They're not going to change their minds because they've just gotten the state attorney general involved, as well as the powerful college sports attorney and Kessler, who just won the Sorsby case, basically. So yeah, they're not going to have a change of heart. That's I didn't think that was the case anyways. That is crystal clear as of this afternoon.
Yeah, and so here we are on a Thursday afternoon. What a week it's been. We seem to say that quite a bit, and it's the offseason. When we come back, Max Olson of ESPN, Mark Shipper around the corner from college football, Fifth Down College Football, and also Craig's off the radar. Last night, the SEC released times, kickoff times and such with their conference games, with some still a 2B or flex position. This is 365 Sports. And Marco's Pizza is the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Bob Mock owns 5 locations here in Waco, and maybe you have a bunch of them near you. I would think it's the fastest growing pizza brand. There's going to be a Marco's near you. Marco's Pizza, go online, marcos.com, and get what normally on the front page of their website is a medium multi-topping pizza for a special price, or even some stuff like Cinnabons, which is a bread sweet kind of taste. If you want to buy something, get something like that and order something like that. Salads, wings, and so much more. And the Magnifico pizzas, which loaded up with pepperoni, loaded up with Italian sausage, and or both. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
The reason that their service is outstanding because the people they have working, behind the desk and the folks working out in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on, and they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
Here we go. This 4 o'clock hour, Max Olson, ESPN, great guest any day, and he joins us today on 365 Sports. Max, with all that's happened since the discussion about Sorsby entering treatment, et cetera, to all the way through all the legal maneuvering this afternoon, why do you think Texas Tech has gone all in on Brendan Sorsby, and especially with what the PR disaster seems to have been?
Appreciate y'all having me on. Wish I had my law degree. That probably helped me a lot at this time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is there a Texas law school that can get me like a degree in a weekend, you think?
Man, at this point, we need like a summer mini semester for all people covering college football to have like a crash course.
Somebody should be offering us like a summer crash course.
Exactly.
You're right. They can make a lot of money on the opportunity here.
For sure.
No, I think it's a good question. It's a good way to ask it because, there's different levels to this, right? Like I think you could initially say, look, we support Brendan Sorsby. We're going to give him all the help he needs in getting treatment and trying to get through this addiction and really confront this. And Texas Tech has done that from the start. And you can always say, hey, he's part of our program. We're going to stand by him. We're going to pay him, all that kind of stuff. And there's been some spin of like, look, we're not a party to this lawsuit. That's him and his lawyers trying to pursue these avenues. You've seen Kirby Hook try to spin that this week. But now we've reached the point. Now that this judge made this ruling, we've reached the point where Texas Tech needs to decide if they're all in or not on this. And it certainly seems like they are feeling more defiant and feeling like, look, everybody's got to respect the court order and can't come after us. And yes, the Big 12 our peers in the Big 12 are mad, but what can they do about it? This is where it's going to be interesting, really, over the next couple of weeks here is just what can Brett Yormark do? What can the Big 12 do? Will that escalate things even further? Certainly the threats today from Ken Paxson and from Jeffrey Kessler indicate that Texas Tech is not willing to just accept some sort of penalty from Texas Tech that prevents Brennan Sorsby from playing next season. So, now this is really like, at first it was like on Monday, it was like, man, this is a surprising outcome. Everybody's got to kind of figure out what to do from here. And certainly seems like it's escalated to a bit of a war now.
So, that's Brennan Sorsby's lawyer, not our lawyer, but now he's our lawyer like 3 days later, Jeffrey Kessler for Texas Tech, because now he's putting out a statement on our behalf. So it's just kind of funny how that all worked out. But yeah, man, I'm fascinated by this story now at this point, Max. Like, there for a while, I just figured there was a logical outcome, but I always knew this is college and a courtroom, so you never know what can happen. There's always a chance it could go sideways. It goes sideways, and now it's just unleashed this whole batch of all sorts of other things. Like, are you somebody that's fascinated by it? Like, or where are you kind of on the interest level of all the fallout from this now?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to keep up. I had another radio hit earlier today, and they asked me, like, what's the percentage chance that Brennan Sorsby is playing for Texas Tech this season? They're playing 10 games. And it's like, man, it feels like the answer to that depends by the hour with just how this thing is advanced. And certainly if you'd asked me Sunday, I would have said 0%. I would have said, I think Brennan Sorsby is going to go in the supplemental draft and run away from all of these problems, and that's the best thing for him and his camp to protect his pro value and all that. Really did not, and just following the hearing last week, just kind of seemed like a slam dunk for the NCAA, and I'm sure they felt the same way as they come out of that hearing in Lubbock. But really surprised by the verdict by the judge, and I think I'm sure Brett Yormark was too, and I think from Monday on, it's been Brett Yormark getting with his legal counsel and just trying to really understand, I've got 15 members of this conference who are pissed about this, but what can we actually do and how do we actually go about that? And so, I think, the meetings next week and the way this all is going to play out here over the next week or so, it's going to be fascinating. And I think for the Big 12 and for Texas Tech, I think everybody is having to weigh what is the reputational damage if we really get through this, if we really go through this whole season, if the Big 12 doesn't do anything and just lets this continue to play out.
Yeah, I've been talking about that as well. Like, just the definition, I think, kind of changes of what long-term damage could look like. And maybe there is none. Maybe everybody just says, all right, that was fun, and they move on. But I do feel like they're kind of opening themselves up to maybe some things down the line where we look back and go, man, that Brennan Sorsby thing really cost them this or the other.
Yeah, and I think it's, I think you look at, there's been a couple of these incidents now where Texas Tech's been frustrated about things in the Big 12, and it certainly is building towards a situation now where, obviously, a year ago there was within the conference, at other member institutions, there's obviously been a lot of like envy about what Cody Campbell has brought to the table for Texas Tech and the way that they've been able to invest in multiple sports and really climb their way to the top really quickly. But, I think this is where you're getting into a situation now where Cody Campbell is trying to have it all. And I have a great relationship with Cody and get along, I have a lot of respect for what he's done, but like Cody Campbell's trying to have it all. And that includes being involved in, the discussions about the future of college athletics. That's, trying to position Texas Tech so that it is viewed as one of these programs that's deserves to be in a super league if there ever is one and stuff like that. It's one of those where it's just like, gosh, you love Brennan Sorsby, nothing against Brennan Sorsby, you want to defend him and stuff, but it's like, at what point do you have to kind of look at the big picture here and try to eventually take the high road? I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this then. Cody Campbell has been a part of this push for all of whatever it is in Congress. They've had to kind of like reroute it a little bit, Ted Cruz and Cantwell, et cetera. Do you feel his comments involving Tech have hurt him in a way where what he says now nationally is now on deaf ears?
Well, it is funny. Like, I think that, certainly from the messaging standpoint on this stuff, like you saw it from Kirby Hocutt yesterday, sort of trying to present this as like, we're trying to do the right thing here. I know everyone's mad at us, but we're trying to work through this stuff. Joey McGuire made a comment or two he'd probably like to take back yesterday, but generally it's like he's going to defend his player and, try to do what's right by Brennan Sorsby, and that Brennan Sorsby is still really working through a serious problem here, and that's not to be forgotten. So I think, and Lord Skuvenek, he crafts a statement that they put out to their entire campus, trying to explain, why they think it's best to appeal the NCAA's verdict and do the right thing for Brennan Sorsby. And and the campus community. And I think everybody's was trying to be very careful with this. So I think when Cody comes out and says, basically like screw our rivals, and people are just doing this because we're Texas Tech, and good luck coming after us and that kind of stuff. Like it's not totally aligned, I think, with some of the messaging they're trying to do. But I think at this point the PR battle's kind of gotten away from them, and it's ultimately like, okay, what is the outcome we want, and how are we going to kind of strong arm people to get it?
Max, what are we going to do when Tech goes like 9-3 next year? No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm very high on their team, but like,
I am too.
They have to win a playoff game to make this all worth it, right? Like at minimum, like a Big 12 championship back-to-back and get into the playoff and win a game, because like, man, maybe they'll feel it's worth it regardless. I don't know. But my gosh, the efforts they're going to protect and also defend and just move forward with this, I hope for their sake, for their fans' sake, they get an actual return on their investment of some sort on the football field.
No, for sure. And look, I'm especially in covering this stuff, like trying to stick to the facts and not opinions and stuff. And I have nothing against Brendan Sorsby, and I have a lot of sympathy for. What he is fighting here. It's obviously an epidemic. It is something that is so gamified and so easy to fall into this trap like he did. So like, I totally like. It offends me when you try to wrap up a bunch of the stuff in mental health in some ways, because that's real, and like that shouldn't be manipulated to try to get a certain outcome on the football field or whatever. But like, I say all that to say, like, the thing that's kind of amusing to me as we go through all this, and Brendan Sorsby is a really talented player, and I think it was a great year with Mac Leftwich and that loaded offense. Like, I think he certainly can be a first round type of player. But what's kind of amusing to me is, like, guys, I think Will Hammond's a player too. Mm-hmm. And I know Joey McGuire believes that. And I know if you watched Texas Tech on the road at Utah last year and the way he closed out that game, like, you knew he's the QB of the future here. And if he hadn't suffered a torn ACL at the end of October, I don't know that Texas Tech, maybe after the shutout in the playoff, you would have gone to the best field no matter what. But I think Texas Tech felt very strongly about Will Hammond being the guy for 26 before he got hurt. And so, if somehow Brendan Sorsby's just like, I'm not doing this, I'm going to go pro, or I'm going to hang back here and not cause all this trouble, and Texas Tech goes with Will Hammond, like, I have no doubt they believe they can win the Big 12 and win the playoff games. So it's like, I don't think they're doomed if they don't have Brendan Sorsby, but now you're in this trap of trying to figure out what's the right thing for him and what's the right thing for trying to be successful this year.
Max, let's say we move this down the road. The Big 12 meets, they're meeting Monday. They'll meet again, media days in early July. In the end, will this all end up being a big statement with reprimand? Do you think Tech will have money withheld from them? We've seen that before. And then, honestly, what other options are there? I cannot imagine that they would not want them to play in the championship game if that's what they do and they get themselves in that position. So because that would hurt the conference, that a possible college football playoff team would be determined, although, Big 12 is going to have a representative, but we'd be determined ineligible. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I really don't. I think and I've seen, I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter, people being very confident about, the Big 12 has the ability to do all this with their bylaws and stuff. I don't know. I think people are speculating on that. I think if you're Brett Yormark, this is a really complex one for Brett Yormark, because he's got extremely close relationships with Lawrence Skubinick and with Kirby Hocutt. Those are like two of his strongest allies from day one in the Big 12. And I have no doubt that Brett Yormark is looking at this and considering, like, what's going to be the perception of my leadership during this? What is going to be my legacy and how I handled this? Because it is such a unique case. And quite frankly, it's just, there's really not any room for debate. There's not any like, well, actually, he should be allowed to bet on pro sports. Like, that maybe so, but he bet on his own team and he bet on his own basketball programs when he was in Indiana, Cincinnati, all that stuff. Like, there's not really a lot of gray in this in terms of the NCAA violations. And so for me, it's like, it's hard to look at this and say, like, maybe there's some sort of like neat little compromise where it's like, okay, well, if Brendan Sorsby is willing to sit out 6 games, then is everybody cool with this? Like, I don't, it's kind of got to be all or nothing, right, guys? So it's kind of, I think that's where a lot of the conflict lies here. And, I think it's, I genuinely, if we talk next Thursday, I genuinely don't know where we'll be at this time next Thursday, but clearly, this has escalated from, hey, all right, there's going to be an appeal and we got to wait this out and see what happens. It's clearly escalated to kind of a daily back and forth here, where I think certainly Texas Tech is kind of given up the PR fight here and is just straight up, fighting for the outcome they want now.
Yeah, that like 2-year period post OU Texas, post are we going to die or not realignment survival of the Big 12 was fun while it lasted because everybody there for like a couple seasons max were on the same page except for Utah. Like a sliver of Utah fans were like, no, we still don't like this, but it was harmonious as much as a conference can be, and that seems to be all out the window. And I don't know if you repair it. Not that you have to have that necessarily, but it's just very obvious that the Big 12's taken a turn as a league from what we've seen the last couple of years.
Well, and guys, it's a great point, and you'd hear so much as soon as Texas and Oklahoma are gone about, man, the conference is the alignment is unbelievable from the top down. Everybody's bought in on Brett Yarmark's vision here. There isn't a Texas or an Oklahoma throwing their weight around and really just being the disdain of the room here. And, everybody's working together. And look, at that time, the guy running the Big 12 board was Lawrence Guvenik too. And so like Texas Tech's leadership played a big role in everyone saying like, all right, this is like peacetime now. We're good. We're all together. We stuck together and we're going to chart a new future without Texas and Oklahoma. And so, I suppose now you could say, in the Big 12, they do have strong alignment. Right now, it's just 15-1.
Yeah, it is 15-1. I have to ask this question, and it's probably shouldn't. If, in fact, Brendan Sorsby entered the transfer portal today, how much would he get?
How many teams who say they would never have played him, like Georgia, for example, are lying their pants off when they say that?
I mean, is the judge transferring with him?
Yeah, no,
how does that work?
You get the whole legal system with you. Or you're
I don't know. I mean, look, I certainly think I know some people are sort of like, why all this fussing over Brendan Sorsby? A guy hasn't won a game in November in the Big 12 in the last 2 years and stuff like that. I'm high on Brendan Sorsby. Obviously, I'm the fool who put him number one in ESPN's rankings of the top transfers this offseason. And I think he is a $4 or $5 million quarterback in this year's market. Like I do. And I think that, that Texas Tech offense, and especially with how good they are at running back and with the starters they have up front, like it sets him up to be a superstar this year and one of the faces of the sport. Absolutely. And so the whole thing is just very sad. Like it really was setting up to be a pretty beautiful thing for Tech this year. And a chance to really like make a deep run in the playoff. And there is a component of this that you have to acknowledge, which is that I thought Joey McGuire did an unbelievable job with getting the culture right within his building last year with all of those newcomers and all those highly paid guys and really pulling it off. And I remember dealing with quarterback injury throughout the season and managing all that. Really impressive. And I just think from a cultural standpoint, it's just like, boy, this is a can of worms here in terms of how you handle this with Brendan Sorsby and Will Hammond and all of this going forward. And how do you kind of, be about all the standards you're about and yet, also be giving a second chance here and being forgiving for a pretty egregious amount of NCAA violations.
Max, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Busy topic, and it's not going to end anytime soon. Have a great weekend, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Max Olson from ESPN, from Chris Evans. When you look at what's happened to anyone else in reference to Sorsby that was caught cheating, or how is this kid somehow immune? It's just wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy part is nobody thought we were going to have to be talking about this. We all thought, and again, left the door slightly cracked open. It was 98% chance that this goes the way that it's supposed to, that it should have gone, that it typically goes, but there was always a 2% chance because it's a random court, not random as far as being in Lubbock for a case involving a Texas Tech player, but it's what we've seen around the country. What happens in Gainesville is not what's going to happen in Oxford. What happens in Oxford is different in Lubbock. It all depends on who's the judge, who's the influence behind the scenes, who's the player involved, like how badly does the school want him to play, where like there's all these factors, and that's like the bigger overarching point of a lot of like the Save College Sports people, which is what makes Cody Campbell look like he is, and he is playing both sides of the fence. Well, I want rules, but I'm not going to follow the lack of them until there are rules. So in the meantime, we're going to take full advantage. And that's his right. And he's not technically doing anything wrong. You could just say your messaging sucks, though, when you're saying one thing and you're actually going ahead and doing another and saying, well, I'm only doing this because it's like, okay, dude. And that's where I think people get crisscross with him. But yeah, the overarching point is you need something to where you don't have a guy get cleared based on especially all of the damning evidence that's involved here, because there never was a controversy over whether you needed to prove that he gambled. You had thousands of pieces of proof. So all it was does he deserve to play based on all of the things that in play here? And everybody with a right mind said, no, he shouldn't. But this judge in Lubbock thought otherwise. And this one judge gets to just determine this outcome. And hey, that's the legal system of this country. That's how it works. So you got to live with the decision. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, because clearly most people don't. And that's just where you have people trying to turn this around. And well, the NCAA, the NCAA tried to enforce its rule. It tried to enforce the one rule that it never actually pretty much ever loses. And just a judge in Lubbock said, nope, I'm going to throw out all precedent. I'm going to throw out all history. I'm going to throw out everything. And I'm going to make this decision, and it's going to be unique. And I don't know if that person knew that they were setting the world on fire the way that they did when they made that decision. I don't know what led to that decision. We'll never hear most likely what did. But yeah, that's the part where it's crazy that we're even talking about it, because it should have just been pretty much open and shut. He doesn't get to play. And there you go. And everybody would have moved on. I don't think even Texas Tech was very well aware of how to handle this, because I don't think that they necessarily anticipated they would have to defend that decision and then move forward with him and go, oh, hell, we actually can play him. And, oh, he's only missing 2 games. Wow. And what's really bothers me about the 2 games? You know who suggested the 2 games, right? Brendan Sorsby suggested the 2 games. And like that's what's wild is they gave him the punishment he asked for. Like this judge just said, you can make your own punishment and I'll give it to you, spitting in the face of all things before this. You requested a 2-game suspension, which people laughed at, and that's part of why people thought that he was full of it and not genuine in his recovery, was because it was so laughable that you think you should only serve a 2-game suspension. Like, laugh this dude out of the room. The judge actually turned around and said, like, yeah, that'll work. It's like, are you kidding me? When that first came out as a request, everybody laughed at that. And then the judge actually went with it. It's like, that's the mind-boggling part, was this judge's decision. Like, get however into your feelings you want to, anger or happiness or whatever, over how any element of this is reacted, whether it's Joey McGuire or Cody Campbell or Georgia's AD or whoever. But the person at the center of all this is absolutely the judge who made the decision and opened this full can of worms. And so now everybody's on roller skates trying to figure out how to best handle this, from the Big 12 to Texas Tech to the Big 10 even, and talking about scheduling and all these things. It's crazy what has spawned from this one judge's decision. And that's why people feel like, the NCAA needs to be able to say, you cannot gamble on sports under any circumstances. And if you do, this happens. And no judge, not in Tallahassee or Washington, D.C. or whatever, should be able to turn around and be like, no, that's not going to do that here. That's what, and that lack of rules is just what continues to plague them, whether in this case or in eligibility or in having a salary cap or in anything they try to attempt to do, is they cannot get clear and concise judgment across the board.
If they would have suspended him for half the season, would anyone change their mind on how they feel?
I think people would have at least been a little bit more respectful of Texas Tech's response to it, as opposed to he set his own punishment, and the punishment he wanted to set from the outset was laughable at best.
That the judge agreed with,
that the judge then followed. Like, the judge went with his punishment that he offered up. It's crazy. So yeah, I think if Tech had said after Monday, we respect the judge's decision, but we actually think he should be suspended 6 games. I know that would be spitting in their own face in a way, but I think people would have, how could you have disrespected that? I know there would probably be like some fan from somewhere that says, oh, if Texas Tech had balls, they'd do the whole year. I mean, you're never going to appease everybody. But I do think that, yeah, if Tech said, no, this is a very serious matter, you're very fortunate, but we're going to actually make it a 6-game suspension to make it actually feel like it means something. You're actually going to miss games that matter. You don't get to come back and play Houston in your big home debut. You don't get to play like everybody that actually has a pulse on the schedule. Then I think that would have lessened some of the blowback, but it wouldn't have silenced all of it because, yeah, there'd be somebody go, no, it should have been the whole season.
No, he could have been suspended for the year, lose all eligibility. There would still – well, yeah, but now he needs to be whipped, tied up and whipped. Here's a couple of things in the chat room, and I can't wait to talk to Mark Shipper. We will in a second. JJ, who initially, even the Reddit boards, which hate Texas, have now Tech as the overwhelming villains. And then I went, oh, my God, not Reddit. He then went on to say, there's like Reddit is incredible as far as how many people get on there for how to do this or how to do that or ask Reddit and all that kind of stuff. And then JJ goes, my bad. He was talking about their number of people compared to what we have, which is now 75,000 plus, et cetera. I love your show. So thank you very much, JJ, for that. From Brian, in order, most hated, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Ohio State. We put that list up yesterday. Don't hate is what Brian said. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We got to get.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with the JJ story, but JJ, thanks for being with us.
I'd say get down and do 20 burpees to him.
Yeah, but that was a roller coaster there for a second of where we were going. And yeah, I dabble a little bit in Reddit. I don't trust every piece of advice because you got like Joe Schmo telling a doctor that a doctor doesn't know what they're talking about in a field that they specialized in sometimes on Reddit. But the college football side is pretty fun. And I've seen a lot of Texas Tech fans that are not happy about the way this has gone, particularly over on Reddit. I don't know how much it speaks for like the majority. I think you take a little bit of everything everywhere, and pretty overwhelmingly we can put any formula of any apps and places together and come out on the other side saying, yeah, most people are not very happy about this. Most people, whatever, you want to take Reddit and Twitter, you want to take Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook, you want to take Facebook and Instagram, you want to take public opinion, you want to take this show. Pretty overwhelmingly, everybody is upset about this decision, which is not directly Texas Tech's fault. It is, again, it goes back to this judge's decision more than anybody else's fault outside of Brendan Sorsby's, obviously. I do appreciate your feedback, and I get on there and dabble a little bit myself sometimes.
Brian was actually saying his favorite teams were Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Don't hate. So, Brian, I misread your comment. All right. How long have you ever been on Reddit a lot? I mean, is that something you go to a lot?
Pretty frequently. I don't spend too long on there because you can get lost very easily. It's a very slippery slope of Reddit where you can just fall down the rabbit hole. So, I'm also hesitant too because I just see a lot of bad advice under the guise of anonymity, and I've seen actual like doctors who are specialties in a field. And I keep going back to this example because it's the one that just kind of sums up Reddit to me, of like a doctor who went to school, got a degree, practiced, being told by some random ass person that like they don't know what they're talking about their field of specialty, and no, my alternative medicine is really, and like that's what you also fall into with Reddit. So you got to be careful. There's a lot of propaganda on there as well. But as far as the college football side goes, there's some good discussion and some fun topics and a lot of interesting opinions from all over the country. So, definitely shout out to those folks.
All right. Thank you very much. For those of you in the chat room, hit the like button if you can't. If you haven't already, or spread the word about 365 Sports and the Smoke Show. When we come back, Mark Shipper, Fifth Down College Football, does a great job. He's also had a book. He's rewriting the book and his thoughts about what's going on in college sports today. We will try to check in if Craig doesn't do it during Off the Radar, because we're open at 5. A couple of interesting nuggets from the SEC releasing their schedule last night with the bangers. We'll try to focus in on that. College World Series also starts tomorrow in Omaha.
Yeah, real quick. Max used the term that I probably should have used from the very beginning when talking about Texas Tech and long-lasting potential. And I keep saying potential because I'm not predicting anything. But just instead of focusing on me saying that maybe Texas Tech hurt their chances at like the Big Ten or the SEC one day, and I'm not going to go back over I'd never thought that really to begin with, but just saying, just interchange SEC or Big Ten with just Super League. Like if there is a Super League one day, whatever that looks like, and everybody's got different opinions, but did Texas Tech hurt themselves if there's like a 40 teams and you're in discussion for that because they're like, we just don't want to deal with Cody Cam. Like that's also what you could throw into that what if umbrella. So yeah, Super League's probably a better, broader, more general term to talk about when talking about future realignment for a school like Tech and what you could potentially hurt yourself in regards to.
They will take them with them more than about 25% of their own conference, though. There's maybe some turned off enough where they wouldn't do that.
I don't know about that.
Well, first of all, that may not happen for 8 to 12 years. And
something's happened in the next 3 years, one way or the other.
I don't think it'll be a Super League.
It's either staying pretty status quo or it's blowing up into something different. A lot of people don't believe there will be a Super League for a variety of reasons. I'm just saying if there is a morphing into something else, then I think you maybe put yourselves at a lower percentage of being able to be a part of that because of kind of the PR hit you're taking, but maybe not. I'm just saying that that's a possibility because of how passionate people are about how all this reaction has been.
From Mike Bean, last thing. If Sorsby is suffering from an addiction, this is the $1 million question, and I said that to him. We want to help him, right? Is playing football a good idea? That really is. That's the question. That's the one thing. And then Bracketcast said, no, it's like sending a cocaine addict to Venezuela.
Who was that first from?
From Mike Bean.
Hey, Mike Bean, let me ask you this to the point of your question. Why does it have to be college football? He can still play football. He could go to the pros, right? We had to hurry this decision up because he needed to know whether he could go into the supplemental draft or not, right? His lawyers were the ones saying like, hey, we need a quick decision so we know where to pivot and whether or not we can or need to get into the supplemental draft. So, yeah, that whole part about, like, he needs to be around the team and all that, like, that's the stuff that falls on deaf ears to me because he can still play football. Why does it have to be specifically in college at Texas Tech? That's the part that everybody who's not buying the company line rightfully is going, come on, man. Like, yeah, okay, he has to play football, but this specific, it doesn't add up.
The judge's written statement of why he made the ruling, to me, did not make any sense. We can argue that forever. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's some of these things that I don't think has to be a part of the ruling or what they do going forward.
At this point, I think the judge just read everything, the list of demands from wants from Brendan Sorsby's side and basically just enacted it is what it sounds like. We're giving you everything that you want.
Mark Schipper will be next with us on 365 Sports. Craig's off the radar around the corner. It was a hell of an NBA game last night. Unless you're, he'll talk about that and more. This is the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports. QC Kinetics provides non-surgical regenerative medicine treatments using your body's own natural healing power, platelet-rich plasma, or even stem cells. I have been in the treatment since September. After another year of being just, at times, miserable. At times frustrated, at times like, damn, I can't even jog 5 steps. Now I am running most every day. I'm not going to stretch it past what it needs to be before it. I'm not going to do that, but I have pushed it a little bit, 1, 2, or 3 miles, and it feels great. I feel better. I do a lot of great thinking when I run, and I couldn't do that because my hip was bothering me so much. I had my first treatment from QC Kinetics, free consultation, by the way, available on Dallas Central Expressway on 75 in Dallas back in September. I've had 4 treatments. One of them actually was one where they went into the back of my hip bone. You may go, oh my God, it was not uncomfortable. It was a unique sensation, but it's helped. It's worked so much that I haven't even used the 5th treatment. I want you to feel better. Any kind of joint pain, elbows, shoulders, ankles, knees, around and up and down your back, whatever it might be, if you have taken or had injection steroid treatments and it hasn't worked very long or at all, this is an opportunity for you because that's what I had done. And finally, I said, I'm going to go see them. And I'm so glad that I did. QC Kinetics in Dallas and Houston. Numbers are on the screen. Thank you, Rez, 972-972-8610 and 713-913-5285. For your joint pain that's not going away and you're frustrated, and now they're starting to talk about a procedure or surgery, please contact QC Kinetics, get a free consultation, then make up your mind the way you want. I'm glad I did because I feel really good. It's great to feel good again, thanks to QCkinetics.com.
Pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Don't gamble on a used car. Get the value of pre-owned without the risk with Car Bravo at Richard Car Motors. Every Car Bravo pre-owned car and truck comes with a no-gamble peace of mind that includes pre-negotiated upfront low pricing, a thorough multi-point inspection, a vehicle history report, a 12-month, 12,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, a no-obligation 10-day or 500-mile return policy. Get all the value of pre-owned with the peace of mind of new. Shop smarter. Drop in to test drive today or see our selection at richardcar.com.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And we start with Mark Schipper in this particular segment, Fifth Down College Football. We've had Mark on before. He's traveled the country covering college football, and he joins us on 365 Sports. Mark, today has been another day of some legal threats or paperwork or all the above, and yet another day of Brendan Sorsby in the news. What has been your take? I've seen some of your comments, but what has been your take on this?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me back on. My general take is it's just an ugly situation. In a lot of ways, I think it's bad for the sport that there's been such a precedent established that if you don't like something the NCAA does or that your conference does, you find a friendly judge and get a ruling in your favor, an injunction, and then go, hey, we'll figure this all out later. I think there's a lot of shirking of personal responsibility and integrity and sort of a lot of sophistry, I guess, kind of using words to cover up what's actually going on. So it's just kind of an obnoxious situation more than anything.
When did you get, and I know you've mentioned this on your timeline, but when did you really feel like, oh, yeah, baby, this is the Southwest Conference injected into my veins?
I think when you start getting like attorneys generals and judges and attorneys and appellate judges who are all connected in some ways to the universities or connected in some ways by business relationship or whatever else. And you got billionaire boosters who are throwing around a lot of money and who are very prominent in the news media and who then basically come out and say, well, hey, yeah, we're doing it, but so is everybody else. I think that was a hallmark of the Southwest Conference during its sort of worst era was everybody else is doing it too. You're just catching us. So, we don't care. And that's kind of, I've seen a lot of that going on here. So yeah, I'm getting some kind of flashbacks to the old SWC.
So, when you look at Brendan Sorsby is the one that created this whole situation. We all need to kind of circle back and remind ourselves of this. And then the judge made the dumb decision that led to all this. And I feel, Mark, I don't know about you, that like Texas Tech, I don't think really anticipated that decision was going to be made. And they've been kind of like minute by minute trying to figure out how to handle the fallout. And that's led to some probably poor comments on the record and maybe a little bit of a need to back off. But now it's very clear as of today that they're just going to go the aggressive, will threaten lawsuits and whatever route. Like there's no turning back at this point. Like, what are your thoughts on just Texas Tech? Not like culpability, not the bad guy. That's if there, I don't even know there's a bad guy per se, but just your thoughts on Texas Tech in general and kind of moving forward through all of this.
Yeah, I've kind of been surprised that everyone has, or not everyone, but a certain sector has said, Texas Tech hasn't done anything here. They're just doing the right things up and down the line. I don't know that that's true. And I definitely, regarding what you said, someone needs to, where are Texas Tech's attorneys and PR people and telling people to stop giving these press conferences? I kind of appreciate that people are going out and trying to speak honestly. I don't want to get upset at people for that because I do like honest talk and people saying what's on their mind. But man, Cody Campbell and Joey McGuire, they're not helping anything here. So, it's kind of from Texas Tech, looking at Texas Tech, it kind of looked like they're saying, well, we're just here to back our guy and we just want him to be healthy. But a lot of the stuff they're saying doesn't really seem to have anything to do with quarterback Sorsby's health, particularly not his mental health. I mean, if he's really got the anxiety disorder and sort of the compulsion issues he has, this can't be good for him. And to send that guy out and ask him to win a national title with $5 million in his bank account, that doesn't sound like he got his mental health in mind either. Yeah,
when you sit there and say he has an addiction and he will – the way the ruling was written by the judge, I thought was the one. Listen, it's the law. We obey the law. We're supposed to, although the law also is you're not supposed to gamble, and in some states you're not supposed to gamble, and et cetera, and on and on and on. But it was written as if he was the victim. That if he doesn't get to play, that Brendan Sorsby is the one who is the victim when he wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for himself, as Craig mentioned.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to take it to a more serious level, what if somebody cleans out another car driving drunk in a DUI and you say, well, hey, but they're an alcoholic and they can't help it. They drink like that and they drive. And yeah, sure, he cleaned out another car while he was driving, but it's his addiction. So we sent him for 35 days. He's back. He says he's fine. He's doing well. We're going to evaluate and he'll be back out on the road just as soon as we can get him out there. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's kind of like, maybe you do have the addiction and maybe you do have these problems, but that doesn't mean there aren't consequences for what you did. And it's like, Sorsby didn't make a couple quick mistakes. The defensive lineman from Iowa made a mistake. He bet $10 on a women's basketball game and admitted it. And he missed his entire senior season and any shot he might have had at the NFL. His career was just basically over. That's a little mistake. We may find out Sorsby placed 10,000 bets. And on teams he was playing on as a red shirt and et cetera, et cetera. So Yeah, I agree. Just because these things might be true, that doesn't mean you don't face consequences.
Mark, do you think for 1 second that there's not a bunch of other schools that would do the exact same thing? Because I absolutely feel like there's a bunch of people from corners of certain schools saying, well, we would never. And they can say that because they don't have to make that decision. They're not a part of a decision like that. But if they were, man, I don't know that LSU says, yeah, we know what the judge said, but we're not going to play Sam Leavitt. I don't for a second buy that. So what do you make of just kind of the I guess the bombs being lobbed from Nebraska and Georgia, and I understand everybody's upset, but do you feel like there's a little bit of glass houses going on, or do you think that people really are so firm on the gambling thing that even schools who typically bend every rule they can would somehow not bend that one?
Well, I think there's probably definitely self-righteousness there, and there's always hypocrisy, and some of these schools, if put in a similar place, would do a similar thing. And some wouldn't. I just mentioned the Iowa incident. Kirk Ferentz in Iowa abided by that ruling. They had him sit out. Iowa State lost its starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He placed like 300 bets for like $2,800. Sorsby is bet over 90,000. The Iowa State quarterback placed one bet on an Iowa State football game, and he was gone. So Iowa State and Iowa abided by the rulings when their opportunity came. Some of these other schools, I think they probably try to get around this, but at the same time, it's like none of that is an excuse. It's more of like, well, they would do it or they did do it. It's like, well, here's your chance to have integrity and to stand up and say, we're going to do the right thing here. For Texas Tech, I look at it and it's like, is one season really worth it for this? This is one of these things that lingers. Some of the cases have been brought up. I've heard Joe Paterno and Penn State brought up. Someone brought up Baylor to me with the basketball scandal years back. And they're saying that as like there were no consequences and there was no big deal. And I'm looking at like those are some of the biggest scandals we've ever had. They still linger around those programs. They've still have tainted their image in the public perception. And so I look at Texas Tech and it's like, here's a chance. Sorsby's a good quarterback. Maybe he's got a chance to make a practice squad. Maybe he makes the NFL. Maybe he gets really good. Who knows? Is it really worth it? I guess for them at this point, it is. I'm not sure in the long term it will be. So, it's hard to sort out who would do what when. All we know is Texas Tech is under the spotlight right now.
The Penn State Baylor references, and I think even maybe I'm not sure if it's Michigan State or others who have had some other type scandals with trainers, doctors, etc. But yeah, right. Penn State and Baylor, they were cleaned out. They basically were cleaned out.
Right.
Penn State eventually had some of what was taken away from like the historical section put back in, but yeah, they got cleaned out. I'm not comparing what Sorsby did to what happened at Penn State or Baylor either, but yeah, some of these things have turned out where teams have had they've had nothing left. It's just ashes they've had to build back from it, and they have in some cases.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, Penn State, I mean, they not only fired Joe Paterno, one of the most legendary coaches the sport's ever had, they fired their athletic director, they fired the president, and multiple people did jail time over the thing. So it was a big deal. So I don't think Texas Tech wants to go down that road of, hey, look at Penn State, look what happened. It's like, well, if that happens to you, Texas Tech, that's a bad deal for sure. So, yeah.
All right, Mark, so what's your power rankings in the ACC this year? No, I'm just kidding, man.
God,
just
such
kidding.
a smart ass thing to say. And you're right, though.
Let me ask you while we have
give me Belichick in North Carolina, number one.
Hey, they got TCU and Ireland up first. I like the Frogs there, but no, I know it's weird to pivot, but just so we can all kind of wash our mouths from constant Sorsby talk, because I know we've been talking about it a ton. Just your thoughts as a guy who looks over the entire landscape. Tech is going to move forward with Sorsby, barring something unforeseen. Your thoughts on them as like kind of the crown jewel of the league right now? Any threats you see to toppling from that, and just kind of where do you find the league as we enter this 2026 season?
Yeah, I haven't really got too deep into my season previews yet, but I'll say this about Texas Tech is they've done a good job under the rules we're living under right now. They're recruiting at the highest level in the Big 12, and they appear to be the most serious program about going out and trying to win. And I know that's kind of led to some conspiracies here about that's why they're after us. I find that to be totally bogus. But that is the thing about Tech and why this needs to be cleared up in a good way for them before the season gets going, because they are going to compete at the top of the league and they're going to have a chance to win some big football games. So it would be, the Big 12 is in a position where it needs to keep competing in the marketplace for media contracts, for relevance, for attention in the big dark shadows of the Big 10 and the SEC. So it's important, if Tech wants to play this role in the conference, which they clearly can, that they do it in some semblance of the right way. But, Tech's going to be good this year, though.
All right, let me ask you about something I know is very true to your heart. And you wrote the odyssey of you being a college football media reporter, fan. When you wrote your book, I thought I saw you, or you may have told me, are you rewriting the book or writing a new book?
No, what I'm doing is, so I finished the first draft all the way through. It's the Odyssey is the perfect name for it, because it's been a long odyssey to get there. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting it down and going through the final processes of proofreading and getting it into book form. And I'd like to have it out right on the eve of the season, and if not quite then, just a little bit afterwards. So I'm really in the last stage. I just got to cut it down and make sure all the fat is trimmed and all the I's dotted and the commas in the right place, and it'll be ready to go. So that's what I'm furiously working on right now.
When it's done, let us know. We'll bring you back on. We'll put a book up on the studio set to help promote it. Mark, thank you for your time, my friend. Have a great rest of the week.
All right, guys. Take care. Always glad to come on.
Mark Shipper with us, Fifth Down College Football on Twitter. And also a guest that we've had on the show. It's at 5TH Down CFB, Fifth Down College Football. Heard on many different places around the country. Craig SMOAK and Off the Radar. That is coming up next. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Ted Teague, CEO and General Manager. And they are, as we hit close to the middle of June. What is it? The 11th, Father's Day, of course, weekend around the corner. And they have some Father's Day's deal right now with what they have with a great inventory of pre-owned cars, special financing offers designed to help you as well, including this one. The 2026 Ram 1500 Lone Star, the Ram truck, 1500 Lone Star, $11,000 off MSRP, and qualified buyers can get 2.9% APR financing for 72 months with approved credit. So that's what you have with a Ram. And they have Ram truck. And Ram trucks have been honored, awarded, trophies, whatever. Glitz and glamour year after year for what they represent in the way it's built, in the luxury and toughness. And then they have Jeep, Grand Cherokee, Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Wagoneer, which is a phenomenal SUV too. So they are ready for you. Father's Day around the corner. Ted Teague is the CEO, General Manager. David Gray handles the entire sales department, but others that are right there helping you. Get a test drive. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Alan Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues and those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. And so I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
It's time for Craig Smokes Off the Radar.
Welcome back into Scores. Time for a little Off the Radar. Taking a break from Sorsby and really college football for the most part for a few minutes to take a look at some other things going on in the world of sports. And we will have plenty more on that subject in particular moving forward. I think with all the stuff that's happened the last couple of days, we are going to have a lot more to talk about with that over the next few weeks. But for right now, today, after a long buildup, such a long buildup that I was just at this point saying, start the damn thing already. The World Cup is underway officially, and we already have our first result as Mexico, down in Mexico City in front of what you can imagine was a pretty insane crowd. Mexico 2-0 winners today over South Africa to get the festivities underway. 80,000, nearly 81,000 people in attendance for that game at Estadio Banorte in Mexico City. And so the Mexican team gets the first win of this year's World Cup in their early stage. And only one more game coming up today as South Korea will take on Czechia in Guadalajara, Mexico at Estadio Akron. That'll be a 9 o'clock start time on FS1. Looks like Peacock will be carrying that as well. And if you want the Spanish language broadcast, I imagine Peacock probably has the simulcast, but Telemundo obviously as well will be carrying a bunch of the World Cup games. So there you go. Mexico 2-0, South Korea, Czechia later on tonight. Tomorrow, we'll have Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina in the early afternoon window.
I don't know what it is about that country, but I love saying that name.
What country?
Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Yep, it's a fun little name that rolls off the tongue. Canada, Bosnia-Herzegovina at 2 o'clock, and then at night, as I was rolling into here, United States will make their World Cup debut against Paraguay on Friday night at 8 o'clock from Inglewood's SoFi Stadium out there in California. So there you go. The first couple of days, we have our first results. We have our second game coming up later on tonight, and then we'll have our first game from the Americans tomorrow night, a little over 24 hours from now. So looking forward. I saw a lot of the highlights from the Mexican win, and man, that crowd was just absolutely just rabid in the best kind of way. So very much looking forward to the next month of games that we have. Oh, it's not a flash in the pan. No. This is not like a weekend and gone. This is the next several weeks. So if you're a soccer fan, it's like Christmas. And for somebody who's just more of a casual, I will look forward to having a lot of this on in the background. And I do appreciate watching a good soccer match from time to time, but certainly the World Cup with all the love of country that you see from all over the world. Can't wait to watch some more games and highlights coming up over the next several weeks. So you're going to dabble it all in World Cup?
It will be more on like a golf tournament or something that's on. I'll watch it. I'll get locked in when England and France, Argentina, when some of them start to crisscross, which I know that won't happen right away, but I'll watch a little bit of it.
So World Cup's underway. NBA Finals is getting closer to a conclusion.
All right, that's the end of the segment.
Conclusion after last night's 107-106 New York Knicks win over San Antonio to take a 3-1 series lead. The Knicks, a record come-from-behind win as they were down 29 points. It looked like it was over. Should have been over, but to the Knicks' credit, they keep fighting back. I know a lot of Spurs fans not happy with how the coaching staff handled that lead and just sort of sitting on it, but give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson and company as they storm back for an unforgettable Game 4 victory at Madison Square Garden. So they now are one step away from an NBA championship, their first since 1973. and a tip in with 1.2 seconds remaining by OG Anunoby proved to be the deciding bucket. But man, it is a YouTube video, a summarization that people in Knicks fandom, and I think just basketball fandom and sports fandom in general, will be seeing for years and years and years to come, because it was an all-time comeback. So yeah, the big Anunoby tip-in right there near the buzzer. Spurs can't do anything with the little bit of remaining time. And yeah, it was a crazy sequence of events. And they're calling the Anunoby like almost like the hand from God, like the tip in, referring to it almost like Diego Maradona, I guess, would be the example or kind of a thing there they're going for. But whatever they're going to call it moving forward, you can call it a victory. And it does feel like this is going to be a Knicks championship when all is said and done, especially after last night.
It was hard. It really was, because they were about to go 2-2. Then they'll have 2 or 3 at home if they need it. But I haven't given up on this. Despite that's going to be hard. That's like a car wreck that you're in, and you don't want to get back in the car and start driving again. I'm not trying to make it that violent, but in terms of, I started thinking about the worst championship level meltdowns in pro sports. Atlanta leading the Patriots 28-3 has to be one, but that's one game. And Brady was in that game. This is gut wrenching for me. I'm a lifelong.
Thought you didn't care.
No, I watch. I didn't. This is a team that I'm starting to still get to know, and I don't know, but what in they were up 20 at one point, still late in the game, and they were launching threes.
Well, I hate.
And in fact, they took 8 consecutive threes, Craig, when they were up 20. And if one of them goes down, yeah, you never. But why not go inside and get the easier basket, maybe draw a foul?
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about still getting to know this team, because their season's probably over in the next game. So
no, I'm talking. Yeah, I'm with free agency.
I mean,
who
like
knows?
I know you haven't really cared as a Spurs fan, though. That was knee deep in that. I can only imagine the heart wrench, heartburn, and just overall nausea that stemmed from that result last night. Because yeah, that was basically it. I mean, there's not a way where you really see San Antonio being able to win 3 games in a row, especially after a result like that. So big come from behind win. Yeah, San Antonio, just a bucket here, a bucket there, play a little bit differently. A lot of people questioning, second guessing their decision making and how they handled having that big lead, which a big lead is one of the most dangerous things in sports, it feels like, because people handle them differently, and you get conservative, or you just, I don't know. But last night, another example of why a big lead doesn't guarantee anything. And the Knicks was just one of the all-time come from behind great NBA Finals victories. So they can smell it in the Big Apple. And it's not the sewage or the trash on the streets or anything like that. The smell of whatever carts selling churros or whatever in Times Square. They're still smelling all those things around the city, but they're smelling a championship for the first time since 1973. That's the scent that's emanating most from NYC right now. And so I expect them to get that done, but really thought that was over and could not believe my eyes watching that unfold. So now, how does San Antonio regroup? Well, they got some time to do that, a couple of days. Saturday will be game 5 back in San Antonio. So that's where the Knicks will look to close it out. Unfortunate for them that, I mean, I guess if they lose, they can go back to New York, although I don't think you want to play with fire. You're definitely not setting that up for yourself. You just win when you can win, because to try to plan this out to do it in front of your home crowd is suicide, basically. But this next game, if they were to win it, they will be celebrating down on the Riverwalk rather than in Times Square or around MSG. So, yeah, crazy result out of the NBA last night. And
think about this, Greg. Didn't Wemby have that really just blind, dumb mistake pass at the end of a game that cost him game 2? And then you look at what happened in game 4, and they're up 29. It's just, man, they have not been able to close. And the Knicks they're like rabid dogs, man. They are not going to let go once they get their teeth in you.
No, there's a lot of second guessing, like I said, a lot of questioning the coaching staff and just kind of the decisions that were made throughout that roster. And you already had some things that were plaguing you to begin with, like turnovers, the guard spot, and things that were not helping you. But just completely unraveled and threw away what was as much of a guaranteed win as you could have, being up by the amount that they were. And to not win that game, I don't know how you possibly recover from that. But we will see coming up in a couple of days as they have one more chance, maybe more, but only one for sure chance to try to keep this thing alive moving forward. So yeah, don't get too used to learning this team. They're about to be a different team here in about 3 or 4 days probably. Tonight in the NHL, you do have Stanley Cup Finals Game 5. This series tied at 2 apiece. Vegas at Carolina. That's a 7 o'clock face-off on ABC. Been a fun back-and-forth competitive series between these two teams. So Knights and Canes tonight at 7, and somebody will take a 3-2 series lead and get one step closer to hoisting Lord's Stanley Cup. But I've enjoyed Stanley Cup playoffs as much as anything here in the last couple of months. I've watched a lot of it. I really enjoy the TNT coverage that I saw along the way. They do a really good job with it, but just enjoyed it in general, regardless of where it's aired or who's been commentating on it. The games themselves, the crowds, it's just incredible dramatic theater, and I'm looking forward to getting some of that with the World Cup, just kind of that feel of just how much it matters and means. And you see that too with like the Knicks fan base and what they're feeling right now. But yeah, just something great about the NHL and their playoffs. And so I've enjoyed every minute. We'll definitely be tuned into that later on tonight. And then just a couple of other stories. We got this one on Phil Mickelson. So,
well, I saw that, but I couldn't read the article.
So I've never been the biggest Phil Mickelson fan, just putting that out there. I don't know. I just never really bought the nice guy sort of act. Does that make sense? Maybe.
Yeah. I've had guys on the PGA Tour and those who have been a part of the tour talk about how he's got a little bit of a facade.
I know he's got a big fan base, so I'm not like trying to, MF the guy or anything, but I just never have. He just, something about him comes across as disingenuous to me, and just always sort of has. And I think maybe it's just probably being more of a Tiger guy, who he's got plenty of his own faults. But Phil Mickelson popping up in a story today where he has been kicked out of a San Diego golf club of which he's been a member for quite some time over allegations that he made unwanted physical contact with a female employee, according to Golf Digest. Golf Digest, talking to multiple sources, said that Mickelson is no longer welcome at the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, where he has played and practiced for decades, because the unwanted contact cited was said to have happened earlier this spring. It said Golf Digest verified the identity of the employee and was withholding her name to protect her privacy, and that she declined to participate in the reporting of the story. A Mickelson spokesperson told Golf Digest any misunderstanding has been cleared up. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter, and is uncertain when he will be able to return to professional golf. But the story says, according to sources, that Mickelson approached the woman in the clubhouse, made non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact with her, to which she rejected his advances and reported it to her supervisors. Officials at the Farms reviewed and investigated, and then confronted him on the golf course and told him to leave the premises. They said following a staff member report of member misconduct, the club provided immediate and ongoing support to the staff member, conducted a thorough independent investigation of the matter, of the incident, and took decisive action. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club. To protect the safety and privacy of our staff and member, we are unable to speak further on the matter. And Golf Digest made sure to circle back and confirm that the unnamed member was, yes, still in fact Phil Mickelson. So this is a course that's about 10 miles from Torrey Pines, a private club. Xander Schauffele's a member. Annika Sorenstam is a member as well. And so there you go. Phil Mickelson kicked out of a club he's been a part of for a few decades over inappropriate behavior with a female employee. So we'll see how he responds to that, but not the best look in the world.
He, of course, has had many issues with debt, gambling. He was the lead dog when he went to LIV, even though some other stars did too. His wife has been through some serious health issues, and they were like, everyone loved the family, and this is obviously very unfortunate. But I remember when he took a leave of absence that it was about something personal, so I was worried about her, not him. I was worried about her. And so this story comes out, and unfortunately,
Nothing, like just the moment I start taking a drink, just go ahead.
Oh, you came on screen?
Yeah, like the very second I go to
well,
take
that's because I gave Rez $5. I mean,
no, it's just funny. It's just funny.
But I was worried about whether it was something for her again, her health. But yeah, not a good deal. He's about to float away. He's not very good anymore. Great player for many, many years, but kind of becoming irrelevant in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look for him. I think everybody's kind of set in stone on how they feel about Phil Mickelson anyways. Like, he's got his supporters, he's got his detractors regardless. He's been kicked out of this golf club that apparently he was a member of for a very long time, and a person of influence like him, they obviously treated that pretty seriously. And so there you go. That was one of the big stories today. And then circling back around to a story we talked about a couple of years ago, and maybe even longer ago at this point, but Henry Ruggs, remember the former Alabama star wide receiver and then Las Vegas Raiders draft pick and wide receiver. He was sentenced to nearly 5 years after a drunk driving crash from a few years ago that killed 23-year-old Tina Tintor and her dog in Las Vegas. And I remember this vividly because I saw some of that video from the crash. Like that was part of this is social media, where just stuff we never would have seen otherwise. Or eventually there was TMZ reporting, and TMZ gathered the videos and you could see it for yourself and all of that, like some of the fallout of it. But this was one of those of like Henry Ruggs gets in a awful fatal car crash, and then the videos are out on Twitter of him like sitting on the side of the road. And I just remember very vividly that happening and seeing it, and just without getting into too disturbing detail, just the death of that woman and her dog, just very, very disturbing what she had to go through at the end of her life. And so just an awful story. And Henry Ruggs was sentenced to 5 years as a result of that. Well, he came up for parole today, and he was denied parole. 5 years since the crash occurred, but said, according to his attorneys, Mr. Ruggs and our office continued to feel the grief and loss suffered by Miss Tintor's family. They said they were disappointed. Obviously they are, because they didn't get their way. But he will be up for parole again in August of 2027. So he will be back, I guess, close to this time next year and trying to get out. But his lawyers had said to ignore that he's a celebrity and all of that, because it can make it more of a burden for a high-profile person, which you kind of think with the opposite, actually. But regardless, his attorney had some things to say. They were disappointed. But Nevada court sentenced Ruggs in August 2023 to 3 to 10 years in prison. He pled guilty that prior May to 1 count of DUI resulting in death, 1 count of misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter. He was driving his Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. And this is what I remember, too, is seeing the fallout from it, the burning car. Don't turn the audio on. That video even still exists. But also seeing the closed circuit and seeing Henry Ruggs' car at what we would later find out was at one point 156 miles per hour with a BAC twice the legal limit in Nevada. And he slammed into the back of her RAV4, set it on fire, and they were stuck, her and her dog, and they could not get out. It hit so hard that her vehicle went 571 feet before coming to a stop. That's a long ways for a car to just get hit and pushed.
That's longer than a football field.
571 feet it got pushed by the impact and then caught on fire. So, yeah, he said he took full responsibility at a parole board meeting last month for his actions that led to their deaths. Not a minute goes by where I don't think of the pain I caused her family, her friends, and the Vegas community. I'm a religious person, and I pray for her family daily. So there you go. Henry Ruggs denied parole, but we'll have an opportunity to get out again next summer, next August. But, yeah, I had not thought about that in a really long time until I saw that headline, and I was like, just damn, man, that's one of just a brutal story. Very unfortunate. I think you gotta pay some time for what he did. I mean, and when you looked at the video too, like not only just the blur of his car going 156, but it wasn't like he was even out on the highway. It was just like on a Vegas street. Like it wasn't the strip of Vegas or anything, but it was just like in a neighborhood around Vegas. It wasn't like it wasn't the Autobahn or anything like that. He was just cruising down a regular street, not a neighborhood, but a city street. And yeah, that's just a really bad deal there. A career ruined and a couple lives lost. So Henry Ruggs will serve some more time, but there's a few things off the radar.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. By the way, I'm getting ready to do a commercial for North Star Funding Partners. Kim, on the golf course that was where Mickelson, the story with Mickelson, the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, he's played there, and he said it's one of the most very, 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 very ritzy high-end facility.
I would think so, yeah. It said Annika Sorensen's a member there, and Mickelson obviously has been a member for a long time. It sounds like it's pretty highfalutin stuff. So that would tell me that for him to get banned permanently, that he was not doing anything that he should have been doing, and obviously they had the proof to be able to go down that route of banning him outright. So yeah, not a good look for Phil Mickelson. And I don't know when we'll hear his name pop up again. He's kind of been out of the picture dealing with whatever he's dealing with. But, yeah, not a good look whatsoever for him.
All right, coming up, Rez, let me do the North Star Funding endorsement, and then let's come back with that little chunk of the SEC schedule. Is that good, or you want me to take a full break? Okay. North Star Funding Partner, have you heard about the new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage? The Insured Retirement Advantage is a solution for younger, high-income clients and small business owners who want to save money for retirement, and is a strategy designed to provide the opportunity for guaranteed tax-free income, retirement income, legacy protection, and capital efficiency, all without needing ultra-high net worth status to qualify. You can call North Star Funding Partner at 623-256-6902 or go to their website at northstarfundingpartners.com, and please tell them 365 Sports sent you. All right, so last night the SEC released their schedule, their football schedule. A lot of times they're still flex or to be determined, whatever. But here are a couple of notes. First of all, the Red River rivalry between Texas and OU, that of course is one of the great rivalries in college football history, will have a kickoff again. I think this is the third year in a row they will kick off at 2:30. There were many times when they were playing at 11 o'clock. But now this one will be, again, a 2:30 kickoff in the Cotton Bowl on October the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, that's the SEC sweet spot of the schedule is that 3:30 Eastern kick. So, of course, yeah, that's going to be their big game of the day that weekend. And I think a lot of people prefer that over the 11 a.m., although I haven't really checked in on the boards to see what the sort of flavor is as far as the 2:30s these last couple of years in particular. But, yeah, if you're the college kids that go out to this game, you get a little bit of extra sleep time in or a little extra tailgate time in. I know that the big fear is ever moving it tonight and what that crowd would look like, or at least that's what they use as part of the defense for why they would not want to ever have it at night. But I do think like a one-off Fair Park, and like there's worries about the neighborhood that it's in, and like South Dallas, and like just extra danger as far as having people drinking all day long and not leave until late in the night, and then just all the problems that I guess could happen as opposed to just getting it in and out earlier in the day. But what a spectacle that would be if they had one night game at the Cotton Bowl between these two teams. Just once. I think it would be cool to see that. But 2:30, that's better than 11 a.m., sure.
No, it is. And I remember one year back when Stoops took over at Oklahoma his second year, and I was like mowing the yard or something on a Saturday morning, and I kind of came in. It was like a blowout in the second quarter. That was that year that they won the national title. And I didn't even know it was kickoff. They kicked off at 11 o'clock a lot of times during this series, and I got used to it.
That's what it was all the time, yeah. And it's always what it was. But
that year especially, because they blew UT's doors off.
You'd have to specify, but yeah.
2000. The year they won the national title.
It's called a joke because they did it a lot.
They did that a lot. Yeah, you're right.
So the heat at 2:30, I think, will be one of the big bugaboos, though, from that is just how hot it'll be at 2:30 as compared to a little bit earlier in the day. And I think later in the day, more of a snarl, maybe trying to get in and out as opposed to kind of what you've been accustomed to. But, hey, 2:30, fine. Should be hopefully a great game this year. Both teams pretty confident in what they're bringing to the table, and just hope that there's no John Mateer injury right before this game or anything along those lines. Hopefully we just get both teams at their best, because both anticipate being playoff and national championship contenders.
Well,
so I want to see the best version.
Here is, I asked Rez if he could put these side by side, the Texas and Oklahoma schedules, and look at the banger factor. Those that are highlighted are what I consider bangers, and I'll tell you the games. Oklahoma, their banger at Michigan. Tennessee on the road. That's the week before they play. This is Texas, excuse me. Texas with a banger factor at home against Ohio State. Then they are at Tennessee before they play Oklahoma the next week in Dallas. Ole Miss is a game which there'll be a flex on the day, the time. Then at LSU and at A&M. And, there's even the rivalry with Arkansas. There's Florida. There's others. But these are bangers. And one note about UT schedule before we get to Oklahoma's is they don't have a true road game, like a road game outside of Tennessee until November 7th. So it's a pretty, when I say favorable schedule, they have really good teams on that schedule. So that's kind of a nice break. But then they end with 3 of their last 4 games on the road.
Well, I guess tuck that away to counteract Sark when he's potentially complaining like last year at the end of the season about where they find themselves. If they've eaten a couple of losses, you can say, well, you guys didn't play a true red game till blah, blah, blah. Just for those who would choose to do something like that. Maybe they're in a position where they don't need to make that argument. But, yeah, that's an interesting tweak of their schedule, and that's a hell of a schedule. I mean, if you're a Texas fan and you're comparing it to what you got for years in the Big 12, I mean, you'd play in Ohio State still in the non-conference, and you'd play in Oklahoma, obviously. But, yeah, from their perspective, getting to play at Tennessee and at LSU, I mean, that'll counteract the drought, I guess, of a true road game or whatever that you're referring to, but or the time in between. But yeah, I mean, that's a fun, sexy schedule with a lot of really big brands and names, and not a lot of teams that we necessarily see them play all that often. I mean, A&M the last couple of years has been back in the mix, and it's great to see that. Having OU and A&M on the schedule every year is a great thing, but to see them play Tennessee, that's going to be really, really cool. Like, I don't feel like I'm trying to think if I've ever seen them play Tennessee at all. Like, when's the last? Okay, I guess it was 1968, so I haven't seen them play Tennessee.
OU?
Texas.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, UT against UT. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, so Tennessee, Texas has not happened since 1968. So that'll be awesome. First time that we're ever seeing a game like that. And then Texas and LSU, just with how competitive and how good both of those programs are. I think that's going to be an awesome game to see more regularly in the SEC as well. And they've played sparingly. I mean, they played back in 2019, and before that they played in 2002, but those are the only 2 meetings since the early 60s, LSU and Texas. This will be their 3rd meeting since 1962. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you get with this realignment that's pretty damn cool. But that's a hell of – I mean, you definitely get your bang for your buck for season tickets. I'm sure they're super expensive, but you definitely feel like you're getting some investment on your return here, not to mention a Missouri or an Arkansas, et cetera.
So the Oklahoma schedule to the right is comparing bangers. Michigan on the road. At Georgia, both teams have a road game in the SEC before they play each other in October. Texas at Tennessee, and Oklahoma plays in Athens, Georgia. Then the Ole Miss game and A&M games. It's the first time since 2011 they've played A&M. I think in Norman. I had that note here, and I think that's the case. They haven't played. Was that the 77-7 game?
Who is this again you're talking
Texas,
about? Texas,
A&M, and OU. I got the note right here. First time since 2011, A&M will go to Norman on November the 21st and get the early window of that game. I don't remember the year that it was just bloodshed, that Oklahoma beat them so badly at 77-7.
I mean, that game, again, it would be like you have to specify. That game was an 0-3, but then there was like a 65-10 right after.
Was there really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
There's a 66-28. There was a bunch of ass whoopings. Like I'll pull it up right here. All right. 99, 51-6, Oklahoma and Norman. 2001, 31-10.
That's not a blast. That's okay.
I mean, it's a 3-touchdown loss, but
it's not 77-7 or 56 or 65.
Very few games
10.
are 51-6, 77-0, 42-14, 66-28, 65-10. Those last three
Craig is
all in 3 years in a row.
Hating, but I'd throw that out there. I wish I could say that, but no, that was when Oklahoma was scored, just mauling people.
Yeah,
You're
I'm obviously having fun with it because you'd have to specify on the blowouts, much like I was trying to say there with the Texas series as well. But Texas series has been very much back and forth for a while now, and they've got the last laugh. So ought to be a hell of a game this year. Just again, hope that everybody stays healthy ahead of that. Unlike last year when we had the whole Mateer situation that cropped up. But, yeah, A&M and Oklahoma playing each other, again, is also, I think, fun as well. And A&M's going to have a really good team themselves. So looking forward to what's for Oklahoma fans also a really good schedule. I mean, not to mention you play Florida, which you don't get to play them very often. Missouri's a rivalry game in so many ways. It's been reignited as well. So, a lot of bang for your buck on both these schedules.
One note about the A&M schedule. They won't have more than 2 road games at night after having 4 at 4:30 or later in 2025. With Oklahoma, again, being early. Not having South Carolina at night probably helps, although the Gamecocks almost beat A&M. Remember in that afternoon game last year when A&M had to come back from way down. And so there you are with Oklahoma and Texas and the banger factor, the games that are highlighted. All right, let's do this. The wheel. After any more super chats that we did the one super chat, one more super chat. And then we'll do the wheel, and then we'll do the quizzes, and we'll do the polls, as Andrew Valade has been a busy man. Your pet cat again. I hate the fact the Knicks are about to win because I despise Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just don't think about him at all and don't really watch enough ESPN to cross paths with him all that often. But, yeah, I can only imagine for those that do how insufferable he will be amongst a lot of other long dormant Knicks fans, or in his case, not long dormant. He's been very vocal in how he's a Knicks fan over the years. But yeah, for all of the people who haven't had the opportunity to talk about an NBA title, that now will have that opportunity. And then all the people who are suddenly going to be really vocal about how they've always been a Knicks fan. That's going to be not a lot of fun, especially if you're a Spurs fan as well. Just a double whammy of that. But I can only imagine. I'm sure it'll get great TV ratings, and ESPN will line up to pay him $1 quadrillion for it as well.
Yeah, what a scene it was. Thank you, your pet cat again. And also we had the super chat from earlier in the show. We appreciate you when you do that. Now, let's spin the wheel. How many categories Andrew slammed in there today?
Are you an analog clock guy or digital? Also, do you wear a watch? If so, how long have you had it?
I have a clock at the condo that is analog, but I'm a digital guy. And I have a watch. It's an Apple Watch, and of course, that's digital too. I'm way more of a digital guy at this point. Don't wear a watch very regularly, if at all. And I've got an Apple Watch, but I've had it for probably 1.5 years or so now at this point. So it's not a regular everyday thing for me at this point, but I enjoy it. I mean, it's a cool little toy to have, and I've never been a big watch wearer though. Digital though, if I do wear one. Yep. All right. I have a couple of nice watches that are dress watches that are analog, but thanks for the question, Andrew, and appreciate us being able to share it. You can say what you do or what you like in the chat room. We'll read that too. Now to the quizzes. Can we go 2-0? Can we go 2-0? Ferris Bueller's Day Off hit theaters on this day, 1986. In the movie's iconic scene, Ferris and his friends famously skipped school to catch a game at which historic Major League Baseball stadium? I did not watch. It's shocking to you, isn't it, that I did not watch that movie?
It's so sad. Like, you have no pop culture depth, like even just
I watched
popular stuff. Like
I watched a little bit, but did not watch that. I've heard of it, but I didn't watch it.
If we did a supercut of
What's
the
the damn
amount of
answer?
popular movies, I know the answer. I've seen Ferris Bueller's, like every red-blooded American. But like, if we did a supercut of all like the immensely popular movies where you go, I haven't seen that, it would be like people would be mind blown, like how little, and not even that, but like songs that are popular, TV shows, like it's crazy. You do not care about it. I
was very protected as a child.
It's like you just sit in silence or something.
No.
every night.
Okay, wait a minute. First of all, I can't remember the last time I went to a movie. I did the night that Jennifer and Daniel got engaged in Chicago. So that was the last one. When was that? Like 2 years ago?
Like 3 or 4 years ago.
That's the last time I was in a movie theater. I watch a lot of movies on Netflix or through what I have with YouTube TV.
It's Wrigley Field is what it is. I mean, this is like one of those movies that, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm not surprised you haven't seen this because like the only movies you watch are like military related. It's like Top Gun you've seen, but you haven't seen.
Yeah, they got to
like
be espionage and things like that. Who?
I said, but you haven't seen like anything else.
I've seen Animal House.
Oh, have you? Wow, that's surprising. That's actually surprising that you've seen Animal House. But yeah, the answer is Wrigley Field.
I've seen. What was the one with Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta?
And for the folks, like, and I'm not even being like a bull or anything, but for the folks who watch us do these poll questions, the amount of time there's like just this thing that you would think everybody has seen, and you're like, no, I haven't seen that. It's crazy. Like, I just don't know how you've avoided so many things.
What is the name of the movie with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John?
It's called Grease.
I saw that like 4 times. All right.
God, Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field. The answer is, and you can read it.
Yeah, Ferris, Cameron, and Sloan ditched class to watch the Cubs at Wrigley Field. This scene is actually a clever hybrid of 2 real-life 1985 games stitched together by director John Hughes, while a TV broadcast Principal Rooney spots shows the Cubs playing the Braves. The famous in-stadium shots of Ferris catching a foul ball were filmed months later against the Expos. So I didn't know that. That's interesting little tidbit there on that. But yeah, I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I don't know, at least a handful of times probably over the years, and in bits and pieces, if not a full meal deal. But yeah, there you go.
Have you seen E.T.? Yes, I have.
I would have said you probably haven't.
No, I did. Well, I was younger back in that time.
Are you sure you saw it?
No, I do. I do. E.T. I did. I watched E.T.
Okay. But I think enough people have picked up on this.
This is going to be a problem here. I'm going to have the greatest movies of all time. Top 10.
Have you seen Casablanca? No, of course not. No. Of course not. No, it's not. I'm not, and that's not like the bar to end all be all either, because I didn't see Casablanca until like a couple years ago. I finally just I've heard so much. I've seen snippets.
All right.
But I need to watch this, and I watched it, and I was so glad that I did, because it wasn't like life-changing, but it just felt good to see it and understand the zeitgeist and everything surrounding one of the most popular movies ever. And so I've kind of done that with a lot of different ones.
According to AI.
Oh, great.
These are the 10 most universally acclaimed and beloved films, and we'll get to the next question. Shawshank Redemption, I've seen it. The Godfather, I've seen it. The Dark Knight, I've seen it.
You've seen The Dark Knight?
Yeah, I have. I like that. I've seen it. The Godfather Part 2, I have. I thought there's no reason to go after number 1. The 12 Angry Men, I don't think I have. The Lord of the Rings,
nope. Not a chance. Not a
Schindler's
chance.
List, yeah, I did. It was so dark and obviously historical. Pulp Fiction, absolutely saw that one. That was
No, you
No, I swear to God,
not.
I have.
You've seen Pulp Fiction.
Okay, where is that located where they do the movie?
Like in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Where was that movie in Los Angeles like that? Oh, no, yeah, that movie in Los Angeles, I've seen that one. Like, that's
Citizen
not the answer
Kane,
for every movie.
1941. I have not seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
But it's not even just is the list done yet?
That's
it feels like you're
right
about
now.
10.
I was like 7 of 10.
But it's not even just that. It's TV shows, it's music.
Oh,
Like
no. I think I've listened to more music than I think. I just don't know the damn names of the bands and the songs.
And I'm not even like saying this necessarily as a negative. It just blows my mind sometimes at the amount of times where you're like, yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen that one. So anyways, let's move on to the next question, because we're dragging this out here.
I'm going home to watch Casablanca. No, I'm not. Next question. Last night, the Knicks pulled off the largest, biggest comeback in NBA Finals history, stunning the Spurs. Game 4. How many points did New York trail by before this historic rally? It's 29.
Yeah, it's 29.
They were trailing by 20 several times early in the second half, but 29 was
some
held.
Trickery here is like, no, technically we're talking about, but yeah, I believe it's 29.
29.
Last night.
29. Yeah. Knicks look completely buried at Madison Square Garden, trailing by 29 in the third quarter, led by Jalen Brunson, who was red hot, 36. And how do you say his name? Anunoby?
OG Anunoby.
33. And New York staged an incredible rally, culminating with flying past Victor Wembanyama.
Okay, it's Anunoby. Just
Anunoby for a thrilling game-winning tip. And the reason I don't know some of the pronunciations and sometimes I skip through them is I don't watch games while listening to them. I'll watch the game, but I don't listen to a lot of them. Game-winning tip, 1.2 seconds left. By the way, the Spurs called timeout, of course. They had a lob they were trying to set up that would have gone, but the pass was either the shorthanded pass or it got tipped. Either way, the Knicks do win.
So you don't watch the finals, you listen to the finals. That's what you're saying?
No. I watch the finals. I don't listen. And Mike Breen's fantastic. He's fantastic. But I don't usually have the sound up with most of them. All right, there we are. Let's get to the poll questions. Which marquee opening matchup are you most excited to watch this weekend? There's no doubt in my mind. I am very intrigued by West Virginia, Troy, but that Texas, Georgia, along with Bama, Oklahoma, they're all bangers. But Texas, Georgia is one. I'm because Georgia won the regular season, and I think the SEC tournament too.
I mean, I have a little bit of personal interest in Oklahoma, Bama. But I mean, all these, I guess the one I guess easier for me to answer is the one I'm like not as interested in as the others would be North Carolina, Ole Miss, just because I don't have like really a draw to either program. So yeah, I'd say Oklahoma, Bama, I'm excited about, but I think Texas, Georgia ought to be great, and West Virginia, I'm very much looking forward, and Troy as well. Like what a cool story for both those programs to be on this big stage, and for West Virginia, we've documented pretty thoroughly of this journey for them, this first time ever, how cool that is, and talked to some people about it. So very excited for their fan base in particular. But yeah, I mean, between the World Cup and whatever's remaining of the NHL and NBA finals the next few days, and then also the College World Series. I mean, just World Cup and College World Series, me living pretty good as sports fans this weekend.
All right, so there's the poll question. Texas, Georgia, second to the great story involving Morgantown and West Virginia and Troy. That it? We got one more poll question. Who is the biggest, this is like taking candy from a baby, who is the true biggest villain in college football heading into 2026? I'm surprised it's like 92% or something.
I mean, it's Texas Tech, and I think in some ways it's the good kind of label. I think also it's not always good villain in this case. I do think there's some of this is perhaps detrimental, but as far as hate watching, we'll see how the TV ratings play out this season and to see if that made any difference for them and their ratings overall, people suddenly tuning in that wouldn't otherwise just to see this team lose. But yeah, by just about any metric, they are currently, as of this week, yes, very much the true biggest villain in college football. And LSU, I'm sure will Kiffin will do something before the summer's over with that like closes the gap, because he just does. Texas is just perennially, I mean, they're always going to be at the top of a list like this. And then same thing with Notre Dame as well. Like they're always going to be.
Do you know how bad you must be to knock those three, especially UT and Notre Dame, down so low as a villain?
See, I think LSU is the way bigger villain, honestly, than Texas and Notre Dame. I mean, Texas and Notre Dame's like historically, but I mean, LSU with Kiffin and just the win at all costs, and just like I was saying earlier, have great respect for LSU and their accomplishments. And I've long said that like nobody's better positioned outside of Texas really to embrace the NIL era and run with it than LSU is. And they've shown that with all their various athletes that have been these crossover stars and everything. Yeah, there's this part about them. And I think this is what Cody Campbell was sort of trying to get at yesterday in his interview, but didn't really say it to where it came across the right way. But he basically said, like, we know if LSU did this, then nobody would have a problem with it. I think there are people who would have a problem with it, but I do think there is an element with a school like that where there would be blowback if they did the same thing with Brennan Sorsby. But I also feel like there would be a bunch of people, especially in SEC country, on talk shows, look at that damn LSU, man. They just don't give a damn, dude. They just don't. Yeah. They just do whatever, man. They don't care.
Yeah, those rambunctious guys.
That freaking Lane, man. He just does. He just loves being the villain, man. He just loves, and like it's part of their almost identity in a way. So that's what's unique about LSU to me is they would do the same thing. I feel like I don't have any much of a question about that. They would have done the same thing in the same situation and just doubled down and not given a damn. I just don't think we would have seen maybe their booster coming out and like going on the offensive and all of that. But I have no doubts other schools would have done the same thing. So I understand the points that are trying to be made on the Texas Tech side. I just think that they've not delivered those all that well and clearly in a couple of cases. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, if anything.
All right. I do have, one more note. Greg Sankey and the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, apparently have released a statement regarding Texas Tech Athletic Department. We'll have that for tomorrow. Trojan inside the chat room is saying that the Big Ten is going to adopt a don't play Texas Tech ruling. That's not what a couple of journalists that I know reported earlier today. But, again, that can change with the wind.
Yeah, I mean, we have to wait till tomorrow to hear that?
All right, here we go. The Southeastern, this has to, hold on. I got to make sure that I'm not getting fooled here.
I think you probably are. Yeah, the Trojan saw earlier, and unless something's changed in the last couple of hours, but it appeared as though the Big Ten is backing off the idea of them like collectively coming together. And I talked about it a little bit, and I said they can accomplish the same thing without setting themselves up for the potential of a lawsuit, because we've seen today already Texas Tech has gone on the offensive. They've got the Texas Attorney General and Ken Paxton, who's now threatening lawsuits if anybody tries to punish them. They've got Jeffrey Kessler, who was Brennan Sorsby's attorney that they had nothing to do with 2 days ago, who's now representing them apparently. So, yeah,
I'm not going to read it because I think it looks as real as it can be, including Sankey's signature, but I can't see it on their site.
It makes any sense to the point I was going to get to with the Big Ten to collectively come out and say that and set yourself up. So I think everybody just has a nod, wink, wink, like we're not scheduling them. But if you try to take us to court over it, like you can't make Indiana schedule Texas Tech. You can't make Michigan schedule Texas Tech. But if they all got together and they said, we're all going to agree to do this, well, then you might have a lawsuit on your hands. So I think they can get the end goal without having to actually plan it. And maybe that's what they're doing. Or maybe Wisconsin announces like next month that they're playing Texas Tech. We'll see on that.
Well, if USC was a rumored possibility, you wonder if that's going to continue down the road.
Or Notre Dame, I think, was floating out there for a half a second a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know. Yeah, I think that might be one of those things that I was referring to when I talk about collateral damage or some of the negative repercussions that could come from the stance that you have. And doesn't have to be exclusively to like admission into another league one day. It could be any number of things. It could be scheduling. Suddenly now there's a bunch of teams that might have played you that otherwise aren't going to play you out of some principle. That remains to be seen, but there are ways outside of like lawsuits and that where you can still technically, I guess, punish Texas Tech on a school by school basis, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Big Ten or the SEC to collectively come out and say something that could just set them up for a lawsuit. And we know now, especially today, that Ken Paxton and Jeffrey Kessler are on speed dial for the Red Raiders. So, yeah, they're not afraid to litigate, and they basically said just as much today. So, interesting week, and still still another day to go. So can't wait to see what Friday brings.
I do want to thank Rez, Garrett, Logan, Houston, and Andrew for what they do for us to get us rolling on the air every afternoon. But this is a serious story to close it out, because I know this young man, Preston Weeks. He was a quarterback. He was on like one of the early Matt Rule teams, and he ended up transferring to Stephen F. Austin. Yesterday evening, he went through 12 hours in surgery in ICU, and then his wife put out this note because he had oral cancer. Surgery is done. The doctors just came out, and they are about to move him to ICU. That was late last night. They said he did good, followed the plan. that they put in place. They are going to keep him asleep. They will slowly wake him up tomorrow. More updates to come. So that's the news. Young man was a high school coach at Henderson. And John King, the coach at Longview, which a lot of you nationally don't know, he went through throat cancer, mouth cancer last season. And I text John, and John said he'd already had a conversation with Preston before he went into surgery. So good luck to Preston and his recovery. Thank you very much to our great audience and viewers, our sponsors. Craig, we'll see you tomorrow at 3. This is 365 Sports, The Smoke Show, and good night.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.